Today on Homeworthy, we're celebrating moms and the lasting influence they have on our style, spaces, and stories. First, we visit a dynamic mother-daughter design trio and tour a stunning Charleston home. Then, a creative mother-daughter duo opens the doors to their colorful, heirloom-filled homes in Lake Forest, Illinois. Next, we head to Massachusetts, where a powerhouse design team of mother and daughters have crafted a warm, character-filled home for a growing family. Finally, join along as renowned floral designer Louis Miller shops the New York City flower market and creates 3 breathtaking arrangements in celebration of Mother's Day. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Scan the QR code to subscribe to our new channel, Weddingworthy, where we celebrate amazing couples and the love stories behind their perfect day.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Bailey.
I'm Megan.
I'm Lily.
And welcome to my home in Charleston, South Carolina. Hi, I'm Bailey Gorelick-Donahue.
Hi, I'm Megan Gorelick.
I'm Lily Gorelick, and we all work at Megan Gorelick Interiors.
So I started this business about 17 years ago. When the girls were little, everyone would ask them if they wanted to work with me. They would always say, no way.
We're like, we do not want to work with her. It's
Too
way
hard.
too hard. She'd be up at the kitchen island at night till like 11 o'clock, and we're like, we don't want to do this.
But then somehow they got a little interested. And thank God they came on board. The middle one came first. So we have another daughter. She came first. And then Bailey.
So I probably started with you 6 years ago. And when I first started, I was like gonna come in and do marketing and all of that. But then, because that's what my background was in, but then it was COVID and the rest of our team had to work from home. And so then I had to learn like everybody's job, which was the best thing for me because then I was like, oh, I love this. And I actually wanna design with her. So we started designing together then.
I was in college during COVID, and I came home for a weekend, I thought, and then I suddenly had a 9 to 5 working with them, but it was
No baking banana bread for you.
No, it was just off to the races, but then I never left.
And then we made her come work with us
The day I graduated.
Yes.
So I went to college at Charleston. Bryn, my other sister, went to college at Charleston, and so did Lily.
We're all 2 years apart.
And so we're originally from Delaware, but I just moved to this house like 3 weeks ago. We're in Mount Pleasant, right by like the little old village area. And my best friend from college is actually a realtor here in Charleston. So she found us this house off market, and we were like, okay, this house is perfect. And we just moved in. We did like a little tiny mini renovation, and then we just went off with like paint and wallpaper and lighting and furniture and made it totally our own.
Welcome to the first floor. Bailey will tell you a little bit about this area.
This area is everything. It's our kitchen, living, dining. So this is when you first walk in. This is our bar situation. So I found this piece on Facebook Marketplace and I'm in love with it. And my mom scaped it out like amazing for me.
Well, she needed a place, extra storage for her glasses, her liquor, her like cocktail napkins, all that fun stuff. Her husband makes the best cocktails.
Espresso martinis, especially.
He makes amazing drinks. So when we got this, we thought this was gonna open up and stay open, and it doesn't. We need to find a solution for that. But my mom was like, okay, we need a place for him to like actually make the drinks. So then we found this cute little piece right here. And this is where you can actually like pour the drinks and serve things. And
His little station.
that's his little station.
And then Bailey made these fun little matches that just have some fun sayings.
Little party
we love to
favors.
do these for clients. It says, isn't this fun? That's our family
That's our
motto.
family saying.
And then Philly pour, because her husband always pours it a little too high.
A little too high.
High tide.
Yeah, high tide. So they have different kind of family sayings and the Donahues, whatever on there.
We kind of struggled with some of the lighting in
Yeah,
here.
this one in particular, because it wasn't really centered in the room. It was centered on the door. It needed to be a statement piece. It's your foyer light. It's kind of like letting us know what to expect as we come forward. Yeah. So we struggled. We wanted something wide but shallow. So we found this and then had it covered, and it's covered in the same fabric as Bailey's drapes. So it kind of sets the tone.
Yeah, you'll see this fabric throughout the house, so it sets the tone.
All right, so this little banquette is a good example of us talking about Bailey had like this piece from her apartment in Philly,
yeah.
and the table from her apartment in Philly. Then another apartment, she added the chairs. So this is kind of a little collection. We didn't have to do too much. We were lucky. Well, we made it fit because we had to. We made it fit right here.
Well, it was perfect though, because when we first came in here, like one of the biggest things, we were like, okay, there is no dining room. And so we were like, we want to create a space. Like we love sitting around the table and talking and eating dinner. And that is also another thing. Growing up, we always had like comfy upholstered chairs. We never just had wood chairs.
So my philosophy on that, especially like raising like teenagers, was the more comfortable you made the chairs and you had a nice dinner on a Friday and Saturday night, they might forget about their plans a little bit. They'll hang out, they'll relax. Some of the wheels might fall off their like plans. So it was kind of a trick, but I made the party at our house every Friday and Saturday night so that they were like a little too comfortable to go out.
So being comfy at the dining table is like a big thing for us. And like my husband and my brother-in-laws, they'll just like start to like lay on the banquette, like because we'll just hang out here forever. So we were so happy that we could fit this in. And then we love just like she's so good at making pretty tablescapes. She figured like all of this out for me.
Well, it's fun. It's just, and again, Bailey's a maximalist. Like this isn't for everyone. Not all of our clients would love this, but Bailey loves mixing patterns and stripes and florals. She like the more layered, the better. So we got her colors, the blue, the green, the pink, all kind of layered in with different stripes and florals.
So many patterns. We have twa, floral, stripe, like you name it. It's on this table.
Yeah. So we are obsessed with these cordless lights. And especially with a project like Bailey's. Bailey's was what we call kind of more like a refresh than a full renovation or a ground up construction. We don't get to lay out where the outlets are, et cetera. So you'll see a lot of these type of lights in here. But they're great. They come with all the fun shades. And I have always loved them, especially in restaurants and stuff, when you see them on a table. And this kind of gives that whole restaurant vibe. Like that's what everybody loves about a restaurant is the banquette, the lighting, etc.
We love lamp lighting because it's so cozy. And then we did this really cool mirror here. So this is a super old mirror. And then we had a really talented artist who did a bunch of things in this house. She gold leafed this mirror so it looks
just to brighten it up a little bit more. And it was tricky to find just the right one for this size. I guess this is a new addition for this space.
Yeah, it is.
So now we're in Bailey's kitchen. We didn't do like a full renovation or anything in here. We hardly did anything at all except we did paint the cabinets. We changed out some of the lighting. She added a cafe curtain and then personalized it with things like her art.
We just wanted to make it feel like cozy and like it actually looks like a totally different kitchen. We put this cute little note that my grandmother wrote me here. We added, like she was just saying, this little cute little cafe curtain. I feel like it just feels cozier and cute.
And you don't have to worry about this art getting messed up because Bailey doesn't really cook anyways.
Okay, so we wanted to add a ton of personal touches to the house. So these little napkins were actually my wedding invitation. So the way we did it was like, yes, this is really your invitation, who, what, where, when. And then it was a box of napkins. So underneath people got like customized napkins, like a joke between us or a happy hour at their house. So it's really fun for everybody that comes over to see the wedding invitation up right here.
No one could believe they were really your wedding invitations, but that's what we did. And then we have this little bar area here. And we love our bar stools. So this is an example of one of our swivel bar stools. You had this in one of your older apartments.
Yeah, I did.
And then we had it in the same leather as the banquette. So they swivel, they do a 360, really comfortable, really cute, and they worked out perfectly here.
So more fun wedding art. This was actually the save the date to my wedding. So we sent out a physical postcard, and we had the wedding at my mom's house in Stone Harbor. And so we did a little postcard that pointed to our house and said, "See you here." So we got the physical postcard and we blew it up and we made this art.
All right, now let's head over to the living area.
Now we're in Bailey's living room. We literally just took a little hop over here. It's all one space. But a lot going on in here. We packed a lot in. We've got a sectional, we've got this crazy ottoman, and then her ship wall, which we'll talk about.
So I had this idea that I wanted to do these ships above my sectional, but I'm like, how am I gonna make this happen? So my amazing mom, she got all of these for me for Christmas.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think it was like every Sunday afternoon while I was watching football games, I was online buying them from different people. I figured out how to, what do you call it? The
Uber package.
Oh, Uber package. I figured that out.
Lily, you had to get a lot.
With Lily's help.
It was a labor of love.
Yeah, labor of love. But like one by one, we picked these up, not having any idea how they were all going to go together. And then we had an artist do all the frames. So most of them are the same, the frames, the original frames. And we had an artist just kind of like touch up the
Make 'em
frames
look old.
so that they made them cohesive.
And I love the way it looks. It looks
Yeah,
so
it's
good.
fun. It's
Yeah.
really fun.
And some are needlepoint, and they're just really, really cool. And it was
It's kind of unexpected when you walk in. It takes people a second, and then they see it, and they're like, whoa, what's going on here?
But Bailey and her husband both, that was like one of your common things, was you both
Yes.
love boating.
So I grew up sailing. My husband's a deep sea fisherman, like crazy man. And so we both love being on the boat. So this was kind of like, and that's also why we wanted to move here to Charleston so we could be on the water. So
So it's a little nod to that.
exactly.
All right, so then the other thing we have going on here is this beautiful powder blue sectional. It's a really, really soft, it's actually an indoor-outdoor fabric.
It's an indoor-outdoor
But
velvet.
it's really, really soft velvet. You would never know it was indoor-outdoor. And again, it kind of gives Bailey the like palette she wanted, the light blue, but then her husband can just relax on the weekends on it and not have to worry about anything being too delicate. And then Bailey put her little twist on it with the fringe and the
I
cording.
love the fringe. Like this sectional was the one thing that I was like, I need to get
It was
a
a non-negotiable for you.
I was like, I need to get a new sectional. Like I just had this vision of this in my head and I needed it. And I'm so happy that I did because it just makes the room in
And
here.
it's a funny little juxtaposition, this like sweet sectional with a fringe, and then this huge animal print.
So the ottoman is something that she had in one of her other apartments. And I mean, if we were starting over, we would have did it a little different size because this sectional's a little irregular. It's not square. So I would have made the ottoman fit right inside it. But we kept what we had. You are obsessed
I'm
with this
so
fabric.
in love with this fabric and this ottoman, and it's like so big and comfy. So it's like we pulled this into here, and it's like
A mosh
one-
pit.
Yeah, it's a mosh pit.
It's so comfortable. We upholstered the legs of the ottoman, which is something we love to do. So it's like
And they have casters, so it's
So
really
you can, like,
easy.
move
you can
it.
move it with your knee. It's so easy. And we always we customize these acrylic trays that we put on them. We love the clear trays because we want to be able to see the fabric. You go to so much trouble to make sure that the ottoman fabric is usually the linchpin of the room. So we do the clear trays and then we scape it with the books. But the books all like act like coasters a little bit.
Yeah,
Exactly.
For
Like-
drinks, food.
Yeah, we
so
can just
many of our clients are
move
like,
this.
I want a comfy ottoman, but I want to be able to put drinks and food down. We're like, don't worry because
So you can put a plate of hors d'oeuvres here and then still put your feet up over here. It all works. And we have these little, we call them like cigar tables that you can
They
sit
just
in,
slide right under, and you can put a drink or
Put
a
a drink
laptop.
down. anything you want there.
One thing we love to do is super custom pillows. So no two pillows that we've ever done are the same. So we always do fun welts, contrast borders, and they're kind of just like a fun surprise to the room. Like this one, you probably would never expect. That's the back. So we just have a lot of fun with the pillows and kind of use them to tie in all the fabrics of the room.
So we do a lot of coastal homes. We don't just do coastal homes, but we do a lot of them. And there's lots of indoor outdoor rooms. There's also lots of family, etc. And in anticipation of Bailey having small children here, we like to do indoor-outdoor carpets inside. That way she doesn't have to worry about sippy cup spilling, wine spilling, entertaining, anything. So this is an example of one of the flat weave carpets that we like to do as an indoor-outdoor. And it's really actually very comfortable. And as you saw before, it makes the ottoman easy to like wheel on.
And these carpets are in every single bedroom. We have them on the porches, we have them on the decks, we have them downstairs. They're everywhere. And we also love to do the same carpet in a house.
Again, it makes it more cohesive. And we always try and customize it to the size of the room.
So I love the drapes in this room. You'll probably recognize this fabric because it was on the foyer light. It's also one of the pillows. You'll see it again on the kitchen cafe curtains. But this fabric was kind of like my starting point in here. I love it. It feels kind of like old-timey Charleston-y, but it's also my really happy colors that I have everywhere.
Yeah, the colors were perfect.
So I love these.
So this area was a little quirky. What we like to do when we have like art on the walls, we like to have original art, we like to have photography, we like to mix things, we like to have things that are sculptural. So this wall was kind of just, it was dark and we didn't have anything great to put here, but this room was begging for sculpture. This light worked. It was fabulous. It has the ropey nautical feel. We put a little toile bench underneath of it, and it gives that sculptural element. So we're really thrilled with this. Plus, it works like a light. It illuminates, so we're happy.
So I always wanted to come back to Charleston. It was just like a dream of mine, and I always wanted to be in this like specific area. And so I would like always tell my husband that I'm like, this is the area I want to be in. He's like, okay. And then my girlfriend found this house. We came. It was so funny because it was over the summer actually. It was like 4th of July weekend. Yeah. And she like texted us a picture of the house, and we were like, okay, we have to come down. We flew down the next day, made an offer that night, and then the people that were living in the house rented it back from us through the end of the year, and then now we're here.
Well, the first thing we needed to do was make sure there were floor plans. So once we got the floor plans, we kind of started with our spatial layout. And then from there, we looked at what existing pieces Bailey had collected and wanted to bring.
So that's honestly like the biggest gift that she ever gave me, was that she never let me buy like IKEA junk furniture. So since like right when I graduated college, I've just been collecting quality things. So it wasn't that hard. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm 30 years old and I have to furnish this entire home. It was like, I actually already had a lot of things, little by little. So we're like, okay, I'm not getting rid of anything that I have. So besides the sectional, and we'll talk about that. But we started with those things, and then we were like, all right, this is how we want the house to feel. And then that was our starting.
We built it from there.
With art and like accessories, and just incorporated the old and added some new.
Especially the art.
Yeah. The art was like this.
As you can see.
Yeah, this was like one thing that I was like, I really want to do. And that was kind of like the way this room started.
The inspiration for this.
It's how we wanted it to feel. We're like, oh, we want it to feel like this.
Like your grandmother's house, or somewhere that you just feel so comfortable and it feels so inviting.
Yes, but then it also has like fun pops because we're not grandmothers.
Granny chic.
Yeah. All right, now let's head outside onto my porch.
So this is Bailey's bonus room. It's a little porch screened in off of her living room. And I really think, Bailey only moved in here 3 weeks ago, but I predict that they're going to be living out here. So we wanted to make it like accommodate everything that they needed. They have a sectional out here. They have a little table out here so they can eat. I feel like they're going to be doing most of their meals here. We snuck a little TV and bar cart. We put a little art on the wall. That's the fish. A little nod to her husband's love of fishing.
This room is so comfy. Like my husband's already been laying out here. It's like, it's a whole other room because we really only have one living room that we're like, this is actually like our family room. And so we did this great, it's all outdoor furniture out here. This was a table you had at your beach house, and it's just kind of, we painted it and it's been like wherever. So whatever happens to it, happens to it. But this is great outdoor furniture out here.
But this is where like the fun and games all happen.
Exactly. It's really cozy at night too.
Yeah, it's really fun. We'll get some like lighting out here, etc.
Yeah. Okay, so this little table, I do take credit for it. It was my idea, but
it's all her idea.
Honestly just the cutest little table, and the way that these chairs pull in, it's kind of like a pie shape, but it's nice because they can just tuck in and it can just be like a serving table or something. But I think we've only been here a few times, but we eat every single
We
meal
eat
here.
every
Every
meal
meal here.
And you can just like hear the birds chirping, and there's a little school back there. You can hear the kids. It kind of just feels like a little oasis back here.
It was so purposeful because the space was tight in this corner. And so it tucks in. And believe it or not, these chairs are extremely
So
They're
comfy.
so comfy.
And again, we had an opportunity for the cordless lamps here to give a little ambiance at night when they're dining.
Exactly. And then we still have our same indoor-outdoor carpet here. We painted, the wood out here was like a bunch of different colors, so we just painted it all this hunter green that you'll see a couple of times in the house. And we just love this little room.
So cute. Well, when we started planning this house, we always do this. We like to name the rooms. So we have a room that's called Megan's room and Lily's room and Bryn's room. So we kind of all can't help but make each room kind of like our personalities in a way, or like what our favorite things are.
Right. Even though they're like guest rooms in Bailey's houses, we always have to assign a personality to it so we can kind of build it from there.
Yeah, like it's so hard for us if clients don't assign the rooms. We're like, we need to know
We
who's
can't just
living
call
in
this bedroom 2. Like, who
Yes,
is
it
it?
has to be what
So
style
we'll
yours
like
is
make
in.
up a person that's gonna live
We need
in
an
the room.
avatar always.
So I mean, I love your room.
Yeah.
So she wears a ton of Johanna Ortiz clothing, and she did a collection with Schumacher. So we're like, okay, that has to be. We were like,
The
that's
starting point.
obviously.
Yeah, when I found out Johanna Ortiz did a Schumacher collection and I fell in love with it, that was the inspiration for our room.
And then Lily's room is like she loves. I don't know. Your room at your beach house is blue and yellow, so I feel like we were like.
I like blue and yellow, and
Yeah.
this is really weird, but I'm obsessed with sleeping in a twin bed. Like, I have the best night's sleeps in a twin bed. It's like, I don't know, it just brings me back. So
She's obsessed. Like if we go to hotels, we always stay in the same hotel room because we just want to.
I'll take the cot.
She's like, cot, please. She's obsessed. So we did twin beds in her room, and then.
But you'll see later on when we give the tour how functional it is.
yeah, you can push them together to make a king bed.
Yes. And then my sister Bryn's room is also my husband's office where he works, and he's like extremely
Old-timey?
Yeah, he's very old-timey.
So we were like, okay, we
And
have
nautical.
Yes, we didn't want to make it anything like too crazy for him in there because that's not his vibe. And then my room, we just did like, it's white and blue, but then it has like fun pops of pink, and pink is my favorite color, but I didn't want to do it too crazy in the main living room, so I'm like, all right, I can do
But she
pink.
didn't want it too calm either. Like, when she first moved in, people would say, "This is so serene," and she was like, "Wait, what?"
I was like,
It's
oh,
like an
that's
insult.
actually like a huge insult.
So she went out and got some stuff to
Yeah,
make
make
it.
it a little crazy.
So then I just like changed out all the lampshades to pink, and I'm like, okay, I feel like people won't say it's serene anymore.
Yeah, now you
it's
say it's
kind
cute.
of all the colors in the house are cohesive. We have the blues, we have the pink, we have the green, a little bit pops of yellows, and
Little rattan and-
rattan, the natural.
So now we're in my mom's room.
She got the best room, of course.
Of course she did. So when we saw the Johanna Ortiz Schumacher collection, we were like, this has to be her room because like the skirt she's wearing, that's like literally her favorite brand. So that's what kind of made this room hers.
Yeah, and we like deviated a little bit from your colors here, but not too much.
Yeah.
We still have, we put the like the grass cloth on the walls, and then on the ceiling we did like the green and white stripes. And it ties in all the fabrics that are in here. I just love this fabric. Did we have this existing headboard?
Yeah, we had this headboard and then we kind of just like worked everything in. And
So that was another one of our like repurposing. And then this is kind of our signature fabric, this rattan fabric. We love that. So it all blended together. And then again, we pimped out the accent pillow with some trim and the green, etc. And we do really, really comfy beds. So this is our coverlet, and then this is our duvet, and it's like
so you can
little
always
cloud.
tell an MGI bed. This is how we do it. We do our €3, our 2 shams, our fun accent pillow, comfy coverlet, and the best duvets ever.
They're so comfy.
So this is the other side of my bedroom. And what we did, Bailey had this in your very first apartment, this dresser. So it lasted, and we made it all work in here. This art is new, and I love this. It reminds me, we really deviated from the colors here, but it reminds me so much. We do big holidays in our house, and it's the husband and wife on vacation after the holidays. And that's kind of my husband and I's tradition. We kind of go away without the kids after throwing a huge Christmas for everybody. So that's why I love that. That's our little wink. We don't compromise. Compromise is a dirty word in our MGI handbook. Because compromise, I feel like two people are losing. When there's something that needs to be decided on, we kind of like elevate it. We try and make it a little bit better. All right, what's not working? Okay, I see that. So we want to elevate, so we don't compromise.
Just do something else.
We come up with like
totally
better
different
solutions. Yes, it's a good challenge. So that's what I would say. But there was, I mean, just the size of this place.
It's so small, and we're like, okay, we have to fit. I'm really happy that, and you worked on this sizing, like so much of this sectional. I'm like, I want a big, comfy sectional, but this place is so small. So it was like, we tried to get every inch we could. And you'll also see that there's like no dining room in here. So that was kind of like the challenge of like, okay, like when my builder first walked in here, he was like, I have a question for you. Like, where do you fit a dining table? I'm like, yeah, you'll see. So we did a whole banquet situation. It's like we actually can have a real dining table, whereas I don't think anybody thought we could in this place.
And who doesn't love a banquet? Everybody loves a banquet.
We love a banquet. And then also in Lily, in your room, we were kind of like, we did the twin beds because you love them, but we were also going back and forth. Like you kept saying to me, like, I have a bunch of king beds in here. You were like, we don't want to collect kings.
I didn't want kings everywhere. I was thinking like, she's 30, down the road, she's gonna have kids, and how we could move things around so we could sneak a crib in there without disrupting the room too much. And then even with our seating, everything's about like, I call it heinies. How many heinies can we get on this sectional? How many heinies can I get over on the banquet? Everything's about seating. So this room has dual purpose. It's Bryn's room, the middle daughter who's not here. It's her room, but we also needed it to function as Austin's office.
So we wanted to keep it really classic and do the blues because Austin is spending a lot of time in here.
Yeah, this room kind of is Austin's personality in a room with all these like old-timey, like classic. He's very, very old-timey. He doesn't know what Instagram is. He doesn't know who any celebrities are. He's basically just
all he knows about is his boats.
He's not from this time.
So we wanted to still bring in his fashion here. So we did this is really cool. It's actually like an old nautical flag, and we had it framed, and we framed it in navy. Over here, this is the shrimp boats on Shem Creek, which Austin loves. My aunt gave me this piece of art. We have over there, we'll show you, we have a painting of Austin's boat. So this room, we wanted to just feel
like his happy place,
cozy, and then his desk over there.
So we mentioned before that Austin's kind of nautical. Bryn likes blues too. Yeah. So we thought we would bring all the blues into here. And Bailey actually had the navy blue. You had one of the navy blue nightstands.
Yeah, I had one of the nightstands, so we added the other. I had this bed already.
From your very first apartment.
Uh-huh.
So we just freshened up the bedding. So we kind of gave like a little classic look over here.
It's cool. We don't usually do this, but we did a leather as the welt for the pillows, and it's the same leather that's on his desk chair. So that was kind of cool, and it's just a little needlepoint pillow, and it just feels like Ralph Lauren-y and cozy in here. I think the best design tip that my mom has taught me was just like nothing too precious. I think that's the way we design everything. Like you'll see here, we did all indoor outdoor carpets, like all this furniture's treated. Like the way she was growing up when we would have parties, like she has parties all the time. People spill red wine, and it's like, honestly, yeah, it's the coolest thing. It's like people are like, oh my God, I just spilled. She's like, no worries.
It's the best party trick to not be like a nervous host. It's like you get to just be like, oh, actually this is gonna bubble right up and it's gonna be fine. And it's not like the party's like gets all silent and awkward.
It's like a little commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like the best thing that I was like, I want my house to feel like her house does, where it's like, you can come in, you can be comfortable, you don't have to take your shoes off, you can just be yourself and not have to worry about everything, and it just be really comfortable.
Yeah, because life happens. Nothing can be too precious.
Yeah.
So another good design tip that we've learned from my mom is that she always says to us and to clients that all blues play nice together. So especially we're doing so much coastal with so many blues. Some greens can be kind of tricky, but all blues really just look so pretty together. And like the more blues together, the more different shades, the better. It just looks so pretty.
I know all these rooms have like
a different shade of blue.
They all have
a hint of blue.
And it all works.
A lot of times something I learned from my mom when we're presenting to clients is if like one person in the family wants one thing and someone else wants another, she always says there's a million ways to do beautiful. And it's so true, because you could have your mind set on like this one idea, but like there's so many ways to make this like the prettiest house and so you, and
right.
just like
So that's part of elevating it. There's a million ways to do
I feel
beautiful.
like that always makes our clients and us feel like so
Relax.
comfortable. You're like, is this the best thing we could do?
But there's no right or wrong.
Right.
There's a million ways that this house could have looked great. It was just, this is the
So
way
many
we
paths
chose,
that you
and-
can go down, and
Yeah.
so many
Right.
different like blending concepts that it's like.
That's why you gotta bring your personality into it.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome into Lily's room.
So this is my room. I just wanted this room to feel like you're staying at your grandmother's house at the beach or something. So kind of a different twist on the old-timey, but still kind of old-timey. Like you would just have the best sleep of your life in one of these twin beds. And I did last night.
And you liked your twin bed. So there was a lot of back and forth debate on how to do this room. Lily really wanted to have her twins. Bailey saw this as like maybe her kids' or future rooms. And we didn't want to like start with kings and have the twins. We couldn't figure it all out. So what we came up with is we would just upholster this whole wall, kind of like, I don't even know what they are, whether they're queen headboards or what. I don't know what they're going to accommodate later. But they upholstered the wall. We put a twin bed in front of each of them. We also can push the twin beds together, put a king mattress pad on it and sheets and bedding, and it feels just like a king. But then the real trick is down the road when she does have like a crib or something in here, it works out perfectly. We can turn this bed around sideways so it'll be kind of like an L shaped, and then the crib can go over there. So we wanted to make it purposeful for now and for later, and then say she has 2 kids, back again later, they can each have their own bed.
Okay, so there's a lot of fun art. Whenever I had a bunch of colorful art, and so I'm like, this is the room to do it in. So we have a little collage of just fun things. I have one of my favorite things is the happy pill. We have a little custom piece of art. My mom got each of us like a little picture of ourselves on there, and it's really cool. That's that little gun art's a local Charleston artist. There's a bunch of fun things. We've got our little crayon phone. We did cute things like we recovered the lampshades in here in the same fabric as the shams. Art over there, my cousin did this resin piece that was Austin and I's monogram. So there's just a lot of like really happy stuff in this room. I wanted it to feel sunshiny like the way Lily does. Okay, before we head upstairs, I want to show you this fish. So this was actually my husband's idea. My mom and I were FaceTiming. My husband and I were visiting the house, and we were FaceTiming, and we were like, what are we going to do here? We want to do something sculptural. And Austin's like, can we do a mount of one of the fish I caught? And we were like, that's actually a really good idea. And so this is a mount we had made of a wahoo that he caught. And my brother-in-law actually found that like hook and pulley thing, whatever it is, and we put it on the rope, and it makes my husband so happy. Okay, so now we're in my room. So my room, I kept it's a lot of the furniture's white, but I have these pops of pink, which make me really happy, and a lot of blue. I had all of this bedding from my last apartment, and I still love it, so that made me really happy. You'll see I deviated a little bit from the normal MGI formula and added an extra pair of shams because I couldn't decide on what fabrics I wanted to do. But behind my lamps so these signs were at the bar at my wedding, and it says, of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walked into mine, and that was my Mimi and Pup-Up's thing for each other, so it makes me really happy to have that in here. And then we just have 2 comfy swivels at the end of the bed, and it's good because Austin can sit there and like do some of his work and watch TV without actually sitting on the bed. Okay, so then I have a little bit of fun art here. I love this Donald print that he did. I've always been obsessed with Eloise, and my husband's always on the phone, so that's kind of our thing. You'll notice a lot of phone things around the house, so that makes me really happy. And then we have another little pop art. New York's also kind of our thing. So I wanted some happy, fun art in here. We did a like pretty little print on the drapes, and I just wanted this room to feel happy and make me feel good. We are both I'll speak for you too, so lucky to work with our mom every day. Like so many people are like, how do you work with your mom? Like we love working with our mom. She is the most open-minded person.
She's so funny too. Every single day we're belly laughing. It's like
There would not be a day we don't just like die laughing, even if it's because like this is so terrible.
yeah, like laughing about how bad it is, but
And she just like listens to us. She like, if we have an idea, she's like, let's do it. And sometimes it's a really bad idea and sometimes it's a really good idea, and we learn, but she lets us do it and she never makes us feel bad, and she's just like authentically her all the time, whether you like it or not. And
there's no wondering how she's feeling. That's
No.
for sure. Which is good.
know.
We're not walking on eggshells. Like, I think sometimes for other people who work with us, it's like, we're like, ew, that is so ugly. There's no, you can just say whatever you want. I can't imagine working and not being able to just like say what's on my
the
mind
best
to
thing.
your mom. Like,
it's the way we can design together and run the business together is because we don't tiptoe around anything, and that's the way she raised us. Was we never lie, we always tell the
Say
truth.
it like it is.
And it's just like we get things done because it's like, no, we're not doing that. All right, you can't get your
Save
feelings
a lot
hurt.
of time that way.
Yeah, you do.
So this is the ground floor, and Bailey had this good idea to add all of these cute lockers in here because there's honestly not that much storage, but it's storage in a little cute way.
So this space was like so scary and gross before, so we added like a little air conditioning unit. We painted everything. We kind of cleaned it up, put an indoor-outdoor carpet because like it actually could flood down here. And then we just added all these cute lockers because it's really the only place we have to store like beach chairs, cleaning supplies. Like I put my weights down here and I do my workouts down here. So it's
It's
also
just another little bonus.
Yeah, and it's actually the way we enter into the house a lot, so it kind of makes us happy to have these like cute little blue lockers.
Our family is so close, so there's 3 girls and then our parents and then everyone's significant other. So I feel like home to us is a place where the 8 of us can all be comfortable and all have like just good accommodations, like our own bedroom that suits our personalities and enough places to sit inside and outside, like a place for the boys to grill, the girls to sit on the couch, like everything like that.
And work.
Yeah, and
We
work.
all live like all over the place now, so it feels so good when we're here to all just be like, we're comfortable here, like we all have a place where we can hang out. We love just like our favorite thing to do is just like sit around and talk. So
We don't watch TV. We always say
No.
that our TV is just sitting around and talking.
When we're
Like,
all together.
yeah.
We just like to sit around and talk, and we get really cozy on the sectional. That's why it was so important for me. I was like, I want a big sectional. I want us all to like be comfy and like lay here and talk about
And
the
the
night
boys
before.
are going to get on here and throw the pillows, and they're going
And
to
like that's fine. It's not
spill their
having.
coffee, etc. But it's
Yeah.
no, never mind. We just blot it up.
We don't want to be yelling at them to like be neat. So it's.
And home is also definitely for us about family, but then it's about infusing it with your personality.
Totally.
So just making sure that everybody feels really comfortable, having their favorite things around, having art that makes them happy, just anything that like is comfortable and makes them happy, where they can kind of let their hair down and just relax.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Katie, and this is my mom, Coco.
I'm Coco.
Happy Mother's Day. We live just a couple blocks away from each other here in Lake Forest, so we want to show you both of our houses today. Come on in.
Welcome to a special edition of Homeworthy. In celebration of Mother's Day, we're unlocking the doors to 2 generations of design. This week, we're honoring the unique bond between mothers and daughters by stepping into each of their homes as they jointly share their stories, style, and the spaces that bring them closer.
We sold our family home when my youngest went to college and moved into the city. And so now this has kind of become the hub for us, and it's been really fun.
From timeless heirlooms to modern takes on family traditions, we'll also share easy ideas for adding a floral flourish to your own Mother's Day celebration. So get cozy and enjoy our Mother's Day series, because nothing says home like a mother's touch and a daughter's twist.
Happy Mother's Day. Bye.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I am Coco Powell, and I'm in here now today as an influencer, and I'm with my daughter, Katie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie, and I am so excited to be here today on Homeworthy with Coco. And I am thrilled to have Coco living just a few blocks away from me so we can see each other every day and film some content for social media. So Coco lived in the city downtown Chicago for 30 years. We moved to the city when I was right after 8th grade. So Coco spent a lot of time living in the city right downtown Chicago, and she loved walking up and down Michigan Avenue, Oak Street. She was definitely a city girl. And my husband grew up here in Lake Forest, so we moved up here when we had children about 15 years ago. And Coco had absolutely no interest in moving to the suburbs, but eventually pulled her up here and convinced her actually to check out this place where she's living now. And I think, although she misses the city a lot, I think she hopefully loves being just a few blocks away from us because we see her all the time. My sister ended up moving up here too. So there are 3 of us up here. At one point there were 4 of us living up here in Lake Forest. So we see Coco a lot.
Alessandra Branca did my living room downtown in this color, and I had saved a palette of it. And
I think it's a custom color actually.
Yeah,
which
I
is
do.
Sort of fun. So in her city apartment, she had a living room that was this color, which is a custom color. And she said, well, if I move to Lake Forest, if I move to this place, I just want to replicate what I had in the city, including this color. So
yeah, I love it. And people walk by in the evening and see my lights on and say, ooh, we'd love to come see that color. So I like to entertain. I always had dinner parties, and so I continue to like that. Clearly they're smaller than they used to be, but I like to give little dinner parties. Maybe I'm outgrowing it, I don't know.
I would say, so my mom's 88, she still throws dinner parties. She has election parties on election night, and she has Valentine's parties for her friends, and she has Sunday night dinners sometimes with her friends. She loves entertaining. She is like the queen of styling a table. She loves setting her table. She usually does it, like if the dinner party's on a Saturday, she usually sets the table on like Tuesday or Wednesday. So she's
it's
really
the best part.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I love it.
That's her favorite part, and she does the most beautiful job. So it doesn't matter if she's having, a beautiful beef tenderloin or if she's having, sliders. She has the most beautiful tables. So that is always really fun. Even when the grandchildren were very small, she had these pretty things all over the place, but everyone was really good about
I let them play with everything.
Yeah.
I have keys missing for locked doors because I allowed them to wander around. I don't know where those are.
Yeah, and I feel like your pretty little things, you were never...
No.
She always keeps things so beautiful and so tidy, but it was never so precious that people couldn't touch it.
Here we are in my living room.
Okay, so one thing I love about this living room is the color. Can you just tell us about the color really quickly?
Yes, it was an Alessandra Branca color that was in my apartment in the city, and I loved it.
And how would you describe it? What is this color?
I don't know. Is it sort of pink and rose and red? It's just, I think, a very interesting, warm color. I love it.
At night when the lights are on and the fireplace is on,
lovely.
it's very cool and soothing, and I feel like it makes everybody's complexion look good. Okay, so then can you tell us about the white clouds here?
The white clouds. People would sleep on these sometimes. That's how they got the name, the cloud. And this was a wedding gift to my parents from Uncle Ed's girlfriend. He never married her. But anyway, I think it's nice that I still have it. And this was also given to my parents for their wedding.
This is one of my favorite things in Coco's living room. It always has been. This tiny little fireplace, these tiny little fireplace tools. I love them because they are so tiny and they're perfect for Coco's. For this house, they were kind of perfect for her living room in Chicago. My sister found them at an antique store in Chicago, and I just love them because they're just perfect size for Coco.
They're small apartment.
Yes. So another really cool thing I think is that I have a lot of things in my home that belong to my mom and my grandmother and my husband's grandmother. But what I love is that Coco also has stuff. in her home that belonged to her mom, as we've seen with these other things. There's another print over here, and the clock above the architecturals over there. Those both belong to my grandmother. And so I loved kind of growing up and seeing them move from my grandmother's home in Florida to my mom's house in Chicago, and now my mom's house in Lake Forest.
Well, the box was a wedding gift to Bob and to me from our ushers and bridesmaids. Carol, Robert, Powell. And then here are the names of the ushers and bridesmaids. It's a cigarette box, and that's when cigarettes were really in vogue. Now it just is a box. Some of my pictures of my children, that was our apartment. This was at the Greenbrier on Christmas Eve. And this was on our last oarboat trip when we didn't tell the truth about Katie's age, and she got to go with us as a family. And this picture was in the Chicago Tribune. It's Katie's dad in the playpen from 1936 with his brothers and his uncle, who was a movie star. Well, this was actually a linen closet for the second bedroom and bathroom. And I didn't need a second bedroom and bathroom. So I decided I needed a miniature bar made out of the linen closet. And it really has been wonderful because there's not all that much storage here. And I have shelving down here where I have ice buckets and coasters and whatever. But it's been really quite a boon to my living. This was my grandfather's where you'd put toothpicks. These were wedding gifts. But I don't think people use after dinner drinks anymore, do they? And this was obviously a wedding gift, but it was not with the drinks. And this was my mother's in her house. She must have used a lot of black and green too. This was given to me, I think, on my 50th birthday by a good friend. And when my oldest grandchild came to visit for the first time, she picked it up and whoa, and her father caught it. These, I think, we bought in Madeira, did we? And for my 3 oldest grandchildren, Sarah, Nicholas, and Henry. And so when they would come to my house, I'd serve probably their snacks on those trays. These were mint julep cups, but I've given my children all of them except I still have Bob's in mine. When we used to have a home at a resort area and we'd have a lot of people for dinner, it would be a casual dinner, obviously, with a lot of people, but I would always put mini Dove bars on a silver tray. And they all said, we're going to get that idea from you. That's how we're going to entertain.
Everybody always comments on your tables, as I said. So
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what we're having for dinner. Coco's
No,
tables
it
are
doesn't.
always really beautiful. She has beautiful silver serving pieces that my mom and dad got for their wedding 50 plus, how many years ago? 50,
Oh gosh,
years
60,
ago.
no, 60-some.
I was 60 some years ago. Everything, no matter whether it's in the dining room or the kitchen, is she always uses her really beautiful things that she and my dad got for the wedding, which is fun.
But that was in the day when young people wanted silver and crystal. And it's not so much that way anymore, is it? Well, my girls still use their pretty things, don't you?
We do, and actually now for our birthdays, sometimes birthdays and Christmas, Coco will sort of wrap up some beautiful silver bowl or something that she received for her wedding for us for a gift, and that's always a really fun thing for us.
Here we are, ready for dinner. In the dining room, we have 2 colors. Katie chose the pale pink, and I love it. And it just can go with anything. And below is a grass cloth that Katie had. This is my wedding china, one of the 2 that I had. And these are Katie's matching demitasse cups, which I sort of, when I have broth that I make as an appetizer, I use her cups. Well, in the broth, You can take a can of V8 juice, fill it to the top with beef broth, and then again fill it to the top with chicken broth, and then add a little lemon juice and heat it up. It is so good. I often serve it when I have, when we're sitting in there having appetizers before dinner. My mother made cranberry ice for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we would always have it in these little sherbet cups. I lived in Pennsylvania with my parents, of course. I was their child, or only child. But then when I was about 6, my father built a glass bottling company plant in Lincoln, Illinois, which I referred to as the garden spot of the Midwest, but it clearly wasn't. And my mother just was destroyed that we had to move to Lincoln because she heard that the farmers came into town in their bare feet on Saturdays. I don't know that they ever did, but I had a great education. I think that people there had gone to wonderful colleges, and we had music of the Baroque, we studied Shakespeare. It was for a little town, a little community of 20,000. I think the education for me was terrific. Then I went to college, to Denison University, and the first date I had with my husband-to-be, I called my mother the next morning and said, "Mother, I've met the man I'm going to marry." And she, of course, said, "Carol, get a hold of yourself." But guess what? I married him 3.5 years later. So that was a dream come true, obviously. Now we're walking into the kitchen, a green and blue room. And on this wall are all of my grandchildren in the Hadley plates. The oldest grandchildren, the first ones, are over here. Then the younger set is over here. But my husband, the older ones called him Grambo, and the others all called him Bobo. So we had to put 2 names. And then there's Coco. Oh, then this picture back here was the farm that my grandfather grew up in, the house he grew up in. And his father, his funeral, it was a rainy day, and all the men were in morning coats and top hats as the family they all carried the casket down and put them in the whatever they used then, horse and buggy, I guess. But that was the farm. And then later in life, they hit oil, on the farm. And so my grandfather would take my mother after school out to inspect the wells. Obviously, these weren't there when this was painted. Now we're in the library, but there are no bookshelves because I had them taken out. But these was all open. But I said, no, I have to be able to put some chairs. So they made walls for me with a pocket door. Don't ever get a pocket door, though. But this is Stephanie, Katie, Jeff and Ben, Ben, Jeff. Well, the grass cloth actually was my daughter's leftover, Stephanie's. And the black, I used a lot of black downtown, obviously with the rug and in the apartments. It maybe is too much of a city color, but it pleases me. And I didn't have any of this furniture here then. I had leather chairs over here and a sofa over here. And I had grandsons that would try to be here first if I was taking care of them, different families. And they would race to get here to see who'd lie on the sofa all day. And then these are Katie's wallpapers and, paintings and wallpapers that she has designed and sold. So I like that to be advertised. It was for clothing for the second bedroom, but I didn't have anyone for that. So I, had to have a place to store my pretties. This is my spode pattern that the aunt and uncle, the Hollywood ones, gave us for a wedding gift. And then I had the spode pattern under there. This is my Lavinia. These were my grandmother's luncheon dishes. I used to have 36 of everything, but I don't anymore. Those were my mother's. These we had made for us in Italy with the bumblebees on them. Goes very well with black. Heading to the bedroom. And on this wall to the right are my family. My parents in college, my parents and Carol on my grandparents' 40th wedding anniversary. This is Carol. This was my grandmother with her 3 children, the little girl being my mother. Oh, and then the most important new thing is Katie's painting. Her first early paintings were done on wood because she liked the graining. And then these are actually prints of what she's selling now, making. But she doesn't make them on wood anymore. This is my bathroom, and I'm crazy about the paper. If I have to move to a small apartment, I guess I won't have this again. I think my house is really cute or pretty. And then this is dust, all this I had downtown.
I think my mom has definitely influenced the way I decorate my home and the way I entertain, although I will say Coco definitely entertains more than I do at this point in my life, but there are a number of things. First of all, in every home that Coco has lived, there's always been a room that has, actually most every room has had some bright color. And so definitely I would say Coco's love of color, sort of sprinkled throughout the house, has totally influenced my style in my home and in probably my wardrobe as well. And then I don't entertain as much, but when I do, I love to set a pretty table like Coco. And I've even found estate sale, some of the pattern of my mom and dad's wedding china. So I have some of the plates in my own home, and I love to use those when I entertain. Okay, Coco, so now we're at my house. Should we give them a tour of my house now?
Absolutely. It's a knockout house.
All right, so first we're in our entryway. And I guess my favorite thing about the entry is the pink ceiling. I just really love a painted ceiling. And I chose this pink because actually, you know what? As you know, my parents used to have a home at the Greenbrier Hotel, and this is one of the colors that they used at the Greenbrier. So yeah, so I just love it. I love it during the day. It's so cheerful to walk out of my bedroom in the morning and see this pretty pink, but also at nighttime, it has a really beautiful glow to it as well. Another thing that I love about this entryway are those giant prints of those sort of trippy flowers. And I had them custom made in that giant size because I didn't want to wallpaper our hallway, but I wanted to fill up that space going up the stairs. And I just love them. I think they're beautiful. They're flowers, obviously, but there's just something a little off about them. And so I love that about it. The console table I actually bought at a local florist. She was displaying some things on the console table, and I asked her if it was for sale. And her husband, actually I asked her husband, the owner's husband, if it was for sale, and he said, yes, it was. And then I bought it, and he delivered it to my house. And then the owner showed up at the house or at the store the next day and was so angry with him because he told her it was a different table. So I feel really badly, but I love it in this spot. And actually, she was very excited when she saw where it was going. So the mirror actually is one from my mom's old house, my parents' old house, which I love. Everything else is a little not super formal, but I love that I have the mirror here, which is a little more formal. And I love that it was Coco's. And then these lampshades I bought online, actually, from a woman in London, and I love them so much. I think they look like little skirts. My sister sometimes says that my house is like a little Holly Hobby, and so I feel like these are definitely a little Holly Hobby, and I love them. So every year in Lake Forest, our Lake Forest library has a big book sale, It's really extraordinary. They feel a huge gym filled with books of all kinds for kids and grown-ups, and history books and education, academic books, and they also have these beautiful art books. So a lot of these I purchased at that Lake Forest book sale. The other thing that I love about this little vignette is these two paintings. So these are two of my paintings that I made, and I love them. I love the round shape, sort of reappears in a lot of my paintings, and I just think it's really soothing. And I love the way they look sort of separated. And I also love the two colors, the lilac and yellow together, are two of my favorite colors, which I love. It is a colonial style home. There are a few things that I really, really loved about it. I loved the backyard. I loved sort of the flow of the rooms. But what I particularly loved is that one family lived in this house from the time it was built until the time they moved out. And actually, this is crazy, but when they moved out, they moved to the same community, the same retirement community where my mom lives now. So I love that. They raised 4 kids in this home. They lived here for so long. When we toured the house, they told us about the kitchen table where they would help the kids do their homework, and I really loved that about it. It felt right to me when we looked at it. Okay, you guys, so now we're in my living room, which is one of my favorite rooms in my house. I love it because I really felt like it should be like a formal living room. It has taller ceilings than the rest of my house, and it's a really good size. But I also wanted it to feel very comfortable. So I did these super cozy sofas so that my kids could come in and put their feet up and not feel like this room was too sort of precious and formal to be in. And I love this fabric. Actually, I have a really good friend, Catherine Habel, who started a business with her sister called Habel Construction. And we used to work together a million years ago in New York City, and they have a great fabric business. This fabric is one of my favorites, and I have it in this room, and I also have it in our library in a different color. These 2 chairs one of them belonged to my grandparents, and one of them belonged to my parents. They were both wedding gifts. I think this one was my grandmother's, and this was a wedding gift to her, and this one was a wedding gift to my parents. So I love it. I had them recovered, obviously, in this green, which I've had for a long, long time, but it's held up really well, and I love the color. They kind of move around from room to room, but I love them here in front of the fireplace. These little chairs I think are so cute. I love having a little bit of wicker in every room. I love it so much, and actually these tiny little chairs belong to my husband's grandmother. We just had them repainted and the seats recovered, which I think is adorable. I go to estate sales all the time and pick up wicker and rattan furniture. Usually it's outside at their homes, but I love this one in particular because it had the ottoman. And so I picked this one up, and actually this is Habel Construction fabric as well, which I love. So the fireplace, for many years I think I had it painted white. And obviously I love a lot of color. So I love for my eye to kind of jump around the room. And so I just decided that white fireplace needed a little something. So I painted it this bright green color, which is a Pharaoh and Ball color called arsenic, which I actually kind of love the name too. This mirror actually also belonged to my husband's grandmother. I thought it was so beautiful, and I love sort of the juxtaposition between the really formal mirror, again like I had in the hallway, the super formal mirror with super informal sofas, and also paired with my prints. So these are part of my print collection. They started out as paintings, and then I made them into prints. And also now we also have the same print in a wallpaper. So I love the addition of these to the fireplace. You know what? I have always loved making things. I mean, even when I was a little girl, I loved making things. And so I also have always worked for entrepreneurs, really creative entrepreneurs, sort of in the infancy of their businesses. So I loved sort of watching people wear different hats and try new ideas and turn them into something big. And so I've had lots of little companies. I've had an accessories business. I had a little pajama business for kids. I've had lots of little businesses, but I've always painted and made things. And so probably about 8 years ago, I started putting my paintings out there into the world on social media, and I had a great response. And so that really encouraged me to continue with the painting. And so it's probably been out there in the world for about 8 years, but I've always loved projects. The wallpaper is actually, again, it started out as one of my paintings. So this shape kind of reappears throughout a lot of my work. So originally I made a series of 4 paintings with this shape for a family in Sea Island, Georgia. And they loved the paintings and I loved the paintings and they had a really great reception. So I started sort of playing with this sort of sea flora shape in my art, in my paintings and in my prints. And someone loved it so much and wanted it as wallpaper. So we did some research and I worked with a woman in Virginia who helped me find someone to produce it for me. And so we made a line of wallpaper. And I knew that I needed to have this green in my living room. So before I put the wallpaper in this space, I had this space, these bookshelves filled with so many colorful pieces, colorful books and art and all these colorful things. But once I had the wallpaper, I knew that I needed to fill this space with something white, something really, so that you would be able to see the wallpaper. So I found these pudding molds at an amazing estate sale that happens every year in Lake Bluff, which is just down the street from us. And I love them because they're so interesting and each one is a little bit different inside and each one is a different size and they fill up this space, but you can also see the wallpaper. This champagne bucket was a gift to my parents for their 25th wedding anniversary from all of my siblings. My sister sort of coordinated it for all of us. And then it was given to me, actually it's from 1984, so I was in 4th grade. And my mom gave it to me then for our 20th wedding anniversary, which is really special. So I love it. I love having it as part of this room, but I also love it on the table when we entertain. There were 4 of us, and so we all talk to each other throughout the day, every day. And so my mom and I and our siblings have always been thick as thieves. So it's the same as far as our relationship goes from my standpoint, except that we get to see each other all the time, which is really fun.
I think it's wonderful. It's the security at its best for me to know that you're here and Stephanie's here and Jeff was here, just sold his house now.
She is a little bummed that the grandchildren have grown up and so now they're in high school and college and they don't come over as much for pretzels.
That's expected.
Cranberry juice.
No, and pretzels.
Yeah.
On the windowsill.
Yeah.
No, but it's how it is. I mean, I've grown up too.
So one other thing that I love to do is I'm sort of a lounger. And so I love coming over to Coco's house in the late afternoon before my kids get home from school and I just come over and
I crash on my bed.
Yes, I just lay down in her bed.
I love it.
We lay down and talk to each other and just hang out. Now that we've started with Coco on TikTok and social media, I come in almost every day to film some content. So it's really fun.
With her phone.
Yes, I bring my phone and we sit usually at her kitchen table, and we try on makeup and skincare and new sunglasses. So I see my mom really almost every day. I mean, we talk to each other probably
At dinner time.
multiple times a day. Yes, for sure. And I'll pop in with my Starbucks, or Coco has been coming over to my house on Sunday nights for dinner, which is really fun. She's been feeling really comfortable at my house, just coming and sitting at the island and having her glass of wine, her glass of Pinot Grigio, and hanging out with me while I cook. So that is really, really fun.
It's great for me.
Yeah.
I love it.
And sometimes actually I will drive by and say, Mom, I'm on my way to the grocery store. Come ride with me. Or, Mom, I'm on my way to Starbucks. Come ride with me. And so we'll go to Starbucks and she'll get a little donut and I'll get my coffee, or we'll do the drive-through McDonald's because she loves a chocolate sundae. And so those kind of things we definitely were not able to do when she lived in the city. So little things like that are really fun. Okay, so now we're in my dining room. This room sometimes doubles as a studio. Sometimes I like to paint in here. So actually, if you look closely on the table, you'll see some paint marks, and I just think that it sort of adds to the character of the room. But again, I got these chairs at an estate sale. It's a square room, so I think it really needed a round table. So this table was one of the first things that we bought for the house when we moved in, and I love it. And again, there are lots of cracks and crevices and paint marks, and I just think it really adds to the room. Okay, so I set the table today for sort of like a casual dinner or casual luncheon, and I love red. I love red with blue, I love red with yellow, I love red with pink, and so I just adore this Casablanca place setting. Casablanca is a store, and in Palm Beach, but they also design fabrics and wall coverings. So I just love this sort of basket weave vibe of the red and white. I love the bamboo. It's casual. It sort of lends itself well to this room that isn't super formal. And then if you look at the napkins, they're so cute. I think there are all these little manners that are printed on them. Say please, please, chew quietly, elbows off the table, and napkins in your lap. I think it's sort of, I thought they were so much fun. My mom has such a thing for colorful glasses, and so my sister and I probably got our love of fun glasses from my mom. Actually my son loves to cook, and so someone gave him as a gift these little oregano plants from Trader Joe's, and I loved it so much that I decided to fill the table with 2 more. So this I adore. I actually got it at the same place as I got the table, right when we moved in. These chargers I love. Obviously I love green, and this was a wedding gift. All of our wedding china had greens in it. And then also these here, I bought it in an estate sale here in Lake Forest. I'm just crazy about estatesales.net, and my sister and I love to scour them for usually china and silver and that sort of thing. And then I just set this up for you. This, actually the tray belonged to my mother-in-law, which I love, and it had a beautiful tea setting on it usually, but I had these little demi-tasse cups on here. These were also a wedding gift, and I think they don't make this pattern anymore, which makes me so sad. And then these precious little linens. I love antique linens as well. My mom has so much, and I just have sort of picked up her love of beautiful antique linens. And then also a really fun thing I think about this room are these lampshades. Well, gosh, I mean, I feel like everything I get at estate sales, but these lamps I also got at an estate sale. I love them so much. I love that they're kind of small. I decided one day, probably during COVID, that they needed a little something. So I painted them this red and pink, which I love so much. And then finally, the little silhouettes. I'm not sure if you saw in my mom's house, but she always had silhouettes of us in her house. And I love the idea of a silhouette. I love the sharp sort of contrasting color, but I needed mine to have a little oomph. So when my kids were little, I had them made in this red and navy. So this is my daughter Louise, and that's my son Powell. And then the American flag I loved so much. I got it on a trip with my sister-in-law to Nantucket, and I saw it and I loved it, and she said, Katie, just get it. You can hang it somewhere. And so I got it, and I thought it really needed a prominent spot here in my dining room. And then really quickly, also the color is one of my very favorite colors. It's, this great yellow, which I love. I think it's the perfect yellow. And then my wallpaper, which also began as a painting originally, and we turned it into this crazy wallpaper. And so again, I just think it's fun to have something that's not so formal in a dining room. Okay, so now we're in, honestly, I think it's my favorite room in the house. My husband and I made this kitchen happen actually during COVID, which is a really weird time to do a kitchen. But I love it so much, and we really picked out every single detail of the kitchen. We didn't have an architect, we didn't have a designer, and it just makes me so happy. And I come in here all the time and say, you guys, don't you just love our new kitchen? And it's really not new anymore, but it just feels new, and I love it. It's just the perfect size for our family. Really, we eat all of our meals right here at this island, and even we entertain at the island, when we have friends over for dinner or family or Coco every Sunday. We just eat right here at the island. I love this little table situation that we have going on here because I brought in the greens, maybe a little more peppy green with the candlesticks and the chargers, which you saw in the dining room. And then we've also added the sort of darker greens and browns, sort of moodier, muddier greens with the dinner plates, which I love. And then I also love that they go so nicely with my mom's, with the Lavinia that, you know, were her wedding china. And actually, I found those also at an estate sale. Okay, so now we're stepping into our library, sitting room, den, whatever you want to call it. This sofa actually was my grandmother's, and I love it. I love it so much. Actually, when I first got it and I first recovered it, I recovered it in a leopard print, which was pretty crazy. I think my dad was like, oh my gosh, if your grandmother could see it now. And then I recovered it again in this Hable Construction dot print, which I love, which you've already seen in my living room in navy, but I love it in the red. These lamps, I love them. I love a huge lamp. I love a huge lampshade, but again, the lampshade being pale white, plain white, just really bugged me. So I just took a little bit of paint and a little bit of painter's tape, and I added this green, which I love so much, although I think that I need to add a little something else to the bottom. So maybe the next time you guys are here, they'll look a little bit different. So then I'll show you these interview magazines. I bought these at, to be honest, I cannot remember where I bought them, but I bought just the plain magazines. I love them. I love the color. I love Interview Magazine. I love everything about them. And again, I said to my sister-in-law, the same one who told me to buy the American flag, I said, oh, should I get them? I don't know. I sort of labored over it, and they were not an expensive purchase by any means, but she said, Katie, yes, you'll hang them somewhere someday. And so then I immediately framed them, and they've been here for 15 years. And I love them so much. And actually, my kids, when they go to dances and homecoming and prom and everything like that, they love to come over to our house to take pictures, which is so flattering to me. And they always stand in front of the interview magazines, which is super fun for me. So, I mean, this art down here kind of changes all the time. I sort of bring some stuff up from the basement and then bring stuff down, and I swap them out. But this actually is a little story that I wrote about my childhood, about growing up, that when I worked for a company, they asked me to write a story about my growing up, and I did, and it ended up as part of their ad campaign, their very first ad campaign. So it's about growing up, the home that Coco and my dad raised us in, and I love it so much. So I blew it up. It was on a little postcard. I blew it up, and I always have it in this room. And the only thing I'll tell you about this area is that it's a mess, and I did not clean it up for you at all because I wanted you to see what it looks like. It's sort of like just where everything ends up that I don't have a place for. So we have these little pictures of my husband and me when we went to an event and we had to get our aura checked, which I don't really know what that is, but that ended up there. There's like a little dancing Jesus here. Lots of clay pots that my kids made. Lots of books that belong to my dad. That's it. So this tiny, tiny little coffee table, sometimes it's just not very functional, but I love it so much because my mom gave it to me. It was actually like the first antique that I ever received as a gift. My mom gave it to me for a birthday. My parents did. And inside that box is filled to the brim with Legos. So they were my son's Legos. They all ended up in there. And so I just, as much as I'd like to have a more functional coffee table someday, I just can't get rid of it. And then finally, the pretty wedding basket I love so much. It was given to me when my husband and I got engaged from my mom. And so she gave one to me, and my sister got a beautiful wedding basket, and my brother and sister-in-law did too, and so it's just special and always has a really prominent spot. What does the word home mean to you?
Family, probably. A gathering place for our family. That was always the most important thing to me. I was an only child, so I liked having a lot of people around me, which sounds not normal for an only child.
My mom always had a ton of people in her house. My brother's friends would come over and just walk right inside our house and go to the pantry because they said our house had the best food. We had a trampoline in the backyard. So many people would come over and bounce on the trampoline, and my parents were, had graduation parties and allowed me in 4th grade to have this rock star party, and it was just a house full of people all the time. what home means to me is family as well. I have a daughter in college now, and she's actually coming home today. I'm so excited. And every time she comes home, I say, what do you want to do when you get home? What do you want to do? And she said, I just want to lay on the sofa and watch TV and be with you guys. I would say the same thing. It's just family, having lots of people in our home.
Bye, Homeworthy. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for coming and happy Mother's Day.
Bye.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Colette.
And I'm Karen. We're Hunter Hill Interiors.
Welcome to my home in Wellesley, Massachusetts.
Welcome to a special edition of Homeworthy. In celebration of Mother's Day, we're unlocking the doors to 2 generations of design. This week, we're honoring the unique bond between mothers and daughters by stepping into each of their homes as they jointly share their stories, style, and the spaces that bring them closer.
We sold our family home when my youngest went to college and moved into the city. And so now this has kind of become the hub for us, and it's been really fun.
From timeless heirlooms to modern takes on family traditions, we'll also share easy ideas for adding a floral flourish to your own Mother's Day celebration. So get cozy and enjoy our Mother's Day series, because nothing says home like a mother's touch and a daughter's twist.
Happy Mother's Day. Bye.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Karen Cacciatore.
I'm Colette Archambault. We are interior designers. Welcome to my home in Wellesley, Massachusetts. So my husband and I moved into this home back in July. We found out that we were pregnant with my daughter in March. She was born in November, and we were living in the city at the time in the seaport, and I think we automatically knew that we needed some more space. I remember just waking up one morning after finding out I was pregnant and being like, where am I gonna hang my Christmas stockings? I don't have a fireplace. And that kind of just started our dive into house hunting. I grew up in the Boston area, and I knew we wanted to be in a suburb around here, so we ended up choosing Wellesley, which we are so happy we did. It's a beautiful town. And I knew going into it I wanted a house with a lot of charm. You can see throughout the home that there's a lot of beautiful original millwork and molding, and that was something that was really important to me and my husband when we were looking at homes. It was a very intense process. I think the market was very crazy at the time, but
Stressful.
We had lost some homes through bidding wars, and I think obviously everything is meant to be, and we ended up with this beautiful home, and we're so happy and excited to raise our children here. The previous owners loved the home so much, and I think wanted it to go to a nice young family, and so we're excited to be stewards of this home for years to come. If you follow me this way, we can head into my living room. So this is our living room. You'll see throughout the home we do use a lot of wallpaper, but we specifically chose to show some restraint on the walls in here, and we just went with the house white, which you'll see throughout the rest of the home, but it is simply white, which we think is the perfect warm white without looking a little too yellow. She's the queen of white paint over here, and I'm sure, as many of you know, white paint is probably the hardest thing to get right in a home.
Seems like it should be easy. It is not easy.
Depends on the lighting, depends on the room. There's a lot that goes into it, but we did land on this beautiful Simply White, which is the ceiling color, the trim color, and the wall color.
It's so interesting in this house because Simply White in your house almost takes on like a candlelit sensation, I would say, or like a feeling on the walls. Just, the way your house is situated, it's the perfect white for this home.
Moving along, I think this room was the perfect example of the fact that your home should really be a reflection of you. You'll see we definitely did not shy away from color in here. It's bright, it's poppy, it has a very fun flair to it. It gives the feeling of a young family home, I would say, while still being on the more restrained side as well. we have these beautiful slipper chairs with, again, Peter Dunham. We love his stuff. Beautiful Peter Dunham fabric with a small scale print here. Funny story, when I was convincing my husband for the design plan of the home, I told him that these chairs were a Nantucket red, not a pink, because I think he would probably be a little scared if I told him we were putting pink chairs in our living room. So he's going to see this now, but I love the color of them. It's absolutely beautiful.
When they delivered the chairs, Chris was like, where are the pink chairs going?
Yes.
That's like, oh, the living room.
I'm very lucky that he's very easygoing, and he loves our taste, so
He
has fallen in love with the pink chairs. But we loved pairing more of the larger swivel chairs you'll see in this really pretty Colfax and Fowler blue velvet with the more feminine silhouette of the slipper chair. Again, we love this blue velvet, and we love that we piped it in this aubergine color. It's just a beautiful contrast, and we just love what it adds to the room.
Yeah, this room just gave us that room to kind of more color the better. And I think we found that fabric first, the Peter Dunham fabric.
Yes, yeah.
And we love this color blue.
We pulled out some of the purple in here and thought that it looks so fresh with the purple.
We use this color probably in almost every design we do.
The blue.
One of our favorites. And so we leaned into kind of the plums in here. We pulled the aubergine piping, and from there the room started to take shape, I would say.
Yeah, I would say it's funny because when I always thought about my adult living room growing up, I never expected to use these fun pops of color, but it just feels so right for my family as well now.
Yeah.
And then we have these beautiful drapes with this Elizabeth Eakins small scale paisley pattern in here. Plays off of the paisley in the dining room wallpaper. And we also love using, a dark bronze rod. I think, like my mom mentioned in the dining room, adding those black pieces really grounds the space and adds, a very elevated feel. You'll see our little sconces here are dark bronze as well. And then we have a large bamboo black coffee table here too.
And I think it's talking about the large coffee table scale. A lot of people are sometimes, if they don't have like a giant room, they're often afraid to put in larger scale items. But I think we both agree that adding big chunky pieces in sometimes smaller spaces actually makes the room live bigger. It makes it feel bigger, and we love this oversized coffee table. It is really kind of pulls everybody in.
It's the center of the room.
Yeah, it creates an automatic conversation area and 100% grounds the room, especially doing it in black.
As we were talking about, adding pieces to your home that are a reflection of you and that are sentimental, you'll see that we actually have our wedding guest book displayed here. We got married at the golf club that my family belongs to right outside of Boston, and they had this coffee table book that is a description of all of the golf course and the history of the club. So we used it as our guest book at our wedding, and I just love having it on display on our coffee table because it's just a memory of a great day, and seeing all the well wishes from our friends and family is just really special to me.
Yeah, don't get nervous about doing your coffee table. And I know this is a large size, and people sometimes will say, can you come help me with my, style my coffee table? I always say, take out pieces that you care about, that tell your story, and put them on your coffee table. Don't worry about making it too pristine
matchy
or magazine-y. Find things that tell the story about you, and that's how you build your coffee table style.
I think that, again, that speaks to shelves too. I think a lot of people struggle with styling shelves, not going to lie. It's a work in progress every day. I think I'm always tweaking them and messing with them. But I think, again, displaying things that are important to you, collecting things over time, tell the story of your family. Overall, just having a feeling of balance, I think, is probably most important. You need a lot of stuff to style shelves. It takes a long time to collect things over time. So I love being able to display things that are meaningful to me and my family. You'll see here that we have this beautiful black antique tray that I sourced on a trip to London with my husband. We absolutely love it. My husband and I travel to London a lot. It actually was the inspiration for my dining room. We stay at the Net Hotel, and we loved the intimate British vibe of it, so we kind of leaned into that for my dining room, but we found this on one of our trips over there, and I love displaying it as well. Again, adding those black accent really grounds the space.
welcome to our family room, which we call the Snug. It is a very cozy space. It used to be a sun porch that the previous owners enclosed into a Four Seasons room, and now has this great gas fireplace, which is on all the time. It gives off a lot of warmth. It's very cozy.
We chose to use, again, an oversized piece in here. We filled the room really with this custom sectional.
The room is very narrow but long.
Yeah.
So we definitely wanted to use the space the best we could with the furniture.
Yeah, and this is this room where you're going to curl up on the couch, you're going to watch TV, you're going to watch football, watch movies. And so this may seem a little oversized, but it totally fills the room and it just feels so cozy. Again, we're using a performance fabric on this, a rose Harlow plaid, which we love, but it's completely scrubbable and washable, so great for young families.
I think, we wrapped the room in this nutty grass cloth. It's actually a vinyl, which is great because I'm sure my kids' hands will be all over it and you can wipe it off. It's so easy to use, and you also don't see the seams like you would with a traditional grass cloth, which I think because of how the ceilings are pitched, it makes it look a little bit cleaner. And then we ended up going with more of a feminine silhouette for the sectional. You'll see there's an English roll arm here, and we went with a box pleat skirt. We think it kind of balances the more manly feeling of the room and just adds a really nice touch.
Yeah, and then we decided to bring in a little fun in the back of the bookshelves, and we took a kind of busier wallpaper, I would say, but really colorful, and we just put in the back of the bookshelves and just add some interest flanking the TV and makes the room feel, adds that charm to this part of the room. So I started my career a long time ago as an attorney, and actually it's so interesting. A lot of former attorneys have become interior designers. Someone should probably do a study on that. But I was fortunate enough that I was able to make a decision to stay home and raise my family. And so while I was raising kids, we moved several times. So interior design became a passion of mine. And we renovated homes, we built several homes, and so it just kind of became a natural progression where I started helping my friends and just always felt that calling, really.
Yeah, I think, I watched my mom design our homes growing up, and I think it developed a passion within me as well. I started off my career in project management at a creative agency, so I really got to learn the business side of things and the client management, which I think is extremely helpful in this industry. We really have honed in on our process, and I think it's something that our clients really appreciate because it's transparent, it's efficient. Our clients know from beginning to end what to expect, and it's something that we really try to kind of market as something that differentiates us a little bit.
Yeah, and we take pride in it, and our clients really appreciate it, actually. So,
and now we'll take you into the kitchen. Welcome into my kitchen.
You can see in this kitchen, it is not a huge space, but there's lots of charm. The previous homeowners had this beautiful nickel gap already on the ceiling and the thick molding, and we just loved the way it enveloped the room. Mm-hmm. So we kind of were talking about how to add something interesting to a small space.
You'll see it is a galley kitchen in here. So we ended up doing a really beautiful checkerboard pattern on the floor. It's something that everyone, as soon as they walk in the space, takes note of. It's something a little bit different and adds charm to a smaller space. Packs a punch.
People think about the ceiling being your fifth wall, but don't forget about your floors. And I think it's kind of popular right now. A lot of people are doing interesting treatments on their floors. A really great option for if you don't automatically have the budget moving into a house to maybe redo your floors or rip them up. Painting your floors.
It's a beautiful look.
Is a beautiful look. Can save money and transform a space.
Yeah, we went with, instead of the traditional paint, we actually ended up going with a stain on the floors. We worked with a really talented decorative painter, Shelley Denning, and she came and mapped out how we wanted the scale of the checkerboard to be. And you'll see the lighter tone is actually the tone of the floors for the rest of the home, and then we went with a darker stain on top to create the beautiful checkerboard that you see here.
We love how it's subtle, but definitely packs a punch.
We got really lucky with the condition that the kitchen was in. All we really had to do when we moved in is we swapped out the hardware for something a little bit more fun. We went with this, it's almost more modern, I would say, with this square back plate and these almost industrial looking knobs. They have like a flat face. And we love unlacquered brass. I think people get scared of the patina, but I just love the look of it, and especially over time as it continues to patina as well. Moving along, again, because this is a galley kitchen, you want to make the most of your space. And so we added this really useful little small island in the middle. And it's perfect for when we're hosting. We put cheese boards, charcuterie boards on here. We make a drink station. This can also be moved around. We put it in my living room to make a little bar out of it. We use it for chopping, for cooking. It has been really helpful as we moved into this space as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, another example how if you find a piece that you like, you can use it in different rooms and repurpose it. So this was perfect size for this space, but you can use it anywhere really.
And then moving along, we have probably the world's smallest powder room. It's tucked off to the side here in our little side entryway. It is so teeny tiny, but it packs a punch for sure. We love to call powder rooms the jewel box of the home. It is a place to have fun with the wallpaper. You know, again, we were lucky that it had this beautiful beadboard in here, so we had this smaller space to wallpaper. We went with something a little bit more glam. We added this ticking stripe sink skirt to a very tiny sink here.
When in doubt, add a ticking stripe. We love adding, you know, a high contrast ticking stripe to a bench, a couch, a chair, here a sink skirt. It automatically just gives it that kind of polished look and adds obviously some charm.
Yeah, again, you know, it's a smaller space, so we used what we could, and we put the mirror over the window here. It's a tiny little mirror, but it does the job. And again, it adds a little bit of charm and a little bit of unexpected item to the room as well. So I think our vibe and our taste is a fresh traditional take. We love bright poppy colors, we love patterns, we love florals, and we wanted this home to be a reflection of my family. So we went with, you know, a lot of bright colors and patterns. And
family-friendly fabrics, actually. And so when we were choosing fabrics and textiles, you know, people live with dogs and they're gonna have children running through here with juice boxes and sticky hands. And so that definitely played a role in some of the fabrics that we chose.
Definitely, a lot of them are performance fabrics.
Yeah, so that you can have a beautiful home, but you don't have to be stressed when kids are sitting on the couch or, you know, eating their snack after school, etc. And so we really thought through that process. We were picking out all the fabrics for the home.
This is our Eden banquette. It's probably one of the reasons that I fell in love with the home. I love a banquette, and the fact that the house already had one just made me so happy. We went with a performance perennials fabric on the cushions, which scrubbable, can be thrown in the wash, especially now that I'm gonna have young kids, it's perfect. And we loved adding a little bit of wallpaper in here. You'll see throughout my home, I do love wallpaper. And we love kind of the juxtaposition of the creamy wallpaper with some more of the modern art. I think that's something we're leaning into right now, is a traditional space and then adding that almost unexpected modern piece of art as well.
I know we love with this piece how the art is abstract, but the frame is super traditional. It's actually an antique French frame. And so we just love the way that looks together because it kind of sets the tone for the house, really. Just the juxtaposition of contemporary and traditional.
The artist Amanda Carroll is so talented, and we found her and fell in love with her work, and she actually bought a piece for her home as well. And we just love the colors of it. It's more neutral, but it still, you know, has that abstract feel to it, which is just beautiful.
And interesting.
It's an interesting piece.
We thought about maybe doing a printed fabric on the windows and then just landed on this beautiful sheer. We felt it just framed the window, and we didn't want to compete with this chandelier, which I think was one of the first things
we
you
found
purchased.
this at spring market last year. It's a Curry & Co. chandelier. It's fun. I love the floral element of it. Again, it ties in the brass from the hardware in the kitchen. You know, I think it leans a little more formal, but I think you shouldn't be afraid to put a formal piece over even an informal dining space.
Yeah, I think especially in a banquette, and this is like really your kitchen table. You don't have the kitchen island, so this is where
everything happens.
We all hang out, I would say. And so I think adding a little bit more luxury to a space you use all the time, I think is the perfect way to kind of elevate the space in general. And a lot of people might think this might have thought it should be more of a dining room chandelier, but we absolutely love what it adds to the space. And if you're in this space all the time, you might as well really go for it and love it.
And enjoy it, for sure. We designed this table with a local vendor on Cape Cod. You'll see, I don't know if you can tell the base is a little bit interesting, but we chose definitely a darker stain. We love how it kind of plays off of the floor here, and it's truly a family heirloom, and I'm also so excited to pass this down to my children as well. You know, I think we went through a lot of different ideas when coming up with our overall plan for the home, but our most fun and I think the most important space is my daughter's nursery. At the time, you know, when we moved into the home, I was 8 or 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So,
and also I think it's important, like for the backstory, that while Colette was pregnant and we were searching for homes for her and we were thinking about designing this home, we were also really building our business. And so it was like such a really exciting, fun time for both of us. We were busy. She was expecting her first child. We were building our business, and we really got to dive into this house from a creative standpoint.
And we knew it was going to be a big portfolio piece for us, and I think since posting the home, it has gained a lot of traction. So, you know, it's been such a fun process, and I think a lot of people have resonated with performance fabrics and the bright colors, and I think in a time when people are kind of leaning more neutral, it was really fun to have fun with the home and the patterns and textiles as well.
Exactly.
Welcome into our dining room. This is definitely a little bit of a departure from the rest of the home. We wanted to go a little bit bold, a little bit moody, a little sexy, just because when we are hosting in this space, we wanted to have a very intimate feeling, which I think we achieved with this dark blue that you see throughout. It's almost a color drench. We started with this beautiful textured Peter Dunham grass cloth in this paisley print. We love the scale of the print and the colors. And then you'll also see that we painted all of the trim and the molding in this bright, almost royal-ish looking blue. I think when we were choosing a trim color for the room, we tried a navy and we thought it was giving too much of an Americana feel, so we wanted something a little bit poppier and a little bit brighter, so we landed on this beautiful royal blue. And we ended up glossing, using a high gloss paint for all the trim and the molding, which we think just adds a really fun pop and a juxtaposition to the textured feeling of the grass cloth. So you'll see we actually ended up glossing the ceiling as well. That was sort of a little bit of a last minute decision, I would say. And we think it just really envelops the room in this moody feeling. And we love when we're hosting a dinner party, we'll have candles lit, and just the way the light reflects off of the ceiling just creates such an intimate feeling and vibe. Moving along, you'll see we have my grandmother's china displayed, which is just so important to me. She actually ended up driving it up to Boston, they live in Georgia, for my wedding and gave it to us as our wedding gift, which is just so special. You'll see that it is a beautiful white plate with a gold rim. It's so traditional. You can pair it with fun napkins, but you can also go more traditional. It's just the perfect kind of serving ware for when you have guests over for the holidays, and I'm just very grateful to have it for my family.
We decided that we wanted to add another color in, obviously with the blue. So we found this beautiful kind of leafy fabric for the chairs, and we loved adding another pattern in. I think it makes the room interesting, and it just felt right with the blue. We love pairing blue and green. You can see on the pair art across the room that we're huge fans of the blue and green vibe, and so we just liked it against the black chairs. And it's also performance, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And I think this room definitely has a more eclectic vibe than the rest of the home. It's fun, it's playful. Again, we chose to do 2 pendants here versus doing 1 chandelier. Just, again, has that eclectic vibe. And the brass, it's more of an orangey brass, which we tend to kind of shy away from. But in this room, it creates a very warm light, which is kind of dispersed down onto the table rather than through the ceiling, and it creates a really intimate mood.
Yeah, and the 2 pendants, I think, especially this type of pendant, stops the room from feeling overly serious. Still interesting, but I think still chic and young for a young family.
They're super fun. Yeah. We love them.
Yeah.
And then we also love to add some sculptural elements to the room. You'll see my mom actually found this pretty large ceramic bowl that has its home on our dining room table. It's sculptural, it's fun, it's a little bit oversized, I would say, for this table, but we think it adds a fun, playful element as well.
Yeah, it's that one piece in the room that maybe you wouldn't think belongs, but adds the interest, and we love adding those kind of pieces.
We also, used a brighter color on the traditional, almost antique-looking buffet as well.
This mirror was actually a mirror that I've had from one of my first homes. With my husband and my family, and so I had it in storage for a very long time. I never parted with it because I always thought I'd find a place for it. Kind of in my mind went in and out of style, I would say, but again, it just worked in this room. It worked with her black chairs, and it finally found its perfect home.
Again, we went back and forth on if we wanted more of like a straight edged or something more froofy, and this really just works in this space. Again, it's playful, it's a little eclectic, eccentric, and it just found its home on our wall. If you'll see throughout my home, I've taken a lot of pieces for my mom. I'm very lucky she has good taste because she's passed down some really great pieces
and
to
we
me.
always love something black in a room.
Yes,
I
totally
mean, I guess,
grounds the space.
We've talked about, rules really not being any rules, but I would say the one rule that I think rings true is that adding a piece of black to any space just automatically gives the room like a good foundation or a grounding.
And then going on to some of the artwork in this space, this is kind of just a old school travel poster of Monaco. My husband and I stopped there on our honeymoon, so it's sentimental to us. We stumbled across this poster at a store on Cape Cod, and we loved the bright colors of it. We loved that it had a sentimental value to us. It lived in our apartment in the Seaport and found its home in our dining room. We just love how it pops on the deeper walls as well.
And a perfect example of how art can really be anything. I think a lot of people are intimidated by collecting art or thinking that things aren't, good enough to be art in your formal spaces. And here's a perfect example of something that is sentimental, works in this space, it's colorful, and so you can put things on your walls. They don't have to be traditional landscapes, although I do love a traditional oil landscape. This travel poster fits the bill and is perfect for this space. So don't be intimidated by finding pieces that may not be traditional art and using them in your home.
I think overall you just want to love the pieces that hang in your home. You'll see there's a lot of different styles throughout my home. I have the traditional oils, I have some poppy, almost pop art type travel posters, and mixing and matching them as long as they have, almost a cohesive feeling that it, as long as you love them, it works in the space.
They work.
They work, yeah.
I used to think that there were some rules that you had to follow, and every time I think I believe in a rule, I'll open up social media and I'll see a designer blow that rule right out of the water, and I've realized there really isn't a rule. You just have to go with what suits the house, what feels good, what's authentic to the client, and I think the rules are really out the window.
I think something we try to stick by is maintaining the integrity of the original architecture of the home and making sure that the interiors play towards that. I think that's something that's really important and that we try to carry through with all of our projects as well. We're looking at a beautiful 1930s colonial, so the design is more traditional. It has some fun pops of color, but it does lean more towards the traditional side.
We try to have it feel authentic to the home. And feel like it belongs there. It's not forced. That's really probably our only rule, right?
Yeah. Welcome into our bedroom. You'll see it has a very hotel-like feel. We love designing bedrooms that feel almost like an escape. Again, you get rid of the stresses of the day, you want to relax, unwind. It's very serene in here. We landed on this really pretty, Scalamandre peacock wallpaper. It's fun and playful again. My husband, again, I had to sell him on the peacocks a little bit, but it's a very neutral tonal paper, so it kind of blends into the background but adds a little bit of a fun touch. We ended up kind of last minute, I wouldn't say last minute, but after we designed the room, we ended painting the ceiling a really pretty pharaoh ball. It's called pale powder. We think it kind of just wraps the space and
Again, one
makes
of our
it feel
favorite
finished.
colors that you'll see in a lot of our rooms and a lot of our designs. Just love that color blue.
And then it ties into our robin's egg bed here. Again, it's definitely a larger scale for a king bed, just the way that the headboard's a little bit taller, but it creates that hotel-like feel, and it still has very feminine details with the whimsy silhouette of the headboard and also the posts as well.
Yeah, another example of a larger scale piece or like a bigger piece, like just adding that warmth to the room and really pulling it all together.
Because it is a 1930s colonial, we definitely did not have a lot of closet storage when we first moved in. I think we literally just had a coat closet in here, which is now built into these beautiful wardrobes that we had made. My husband and I each have one, and we added this beautiful shearing and this ticking stripe. We love a ticking stripe, and the back of it, again, adds just a little bit of visual interest, and the storage is very useful.
Yeah, I mean, adding a vanity between the two closets, I think was great because
a no-brainer, especially under the window.
No-brainer, and you can work from here, do your makeup.
Oh, totally. It, you know, doubles as a desk.
Yeah,
do my makeup, get
adding
my hair.
another pattern against the tonal on the wallpaper just brings in some more of the charm, brings in more of the colors, and just really keeps it feeling almost spa-like in here with the colors that we used. Over here, we decided to go with a clean, flat Roman shade. And I think for a lot of young families, you know, full custom window treatments.
It's a very large investment.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're not at the top of the priority to do window treatments in every room. So this is kind of an old, you know, trick, but we just took ready-made
stock.
Yeah, ready-made stock blinds or shades, and we just added this beautiful Samuel and Sons trim to it, and looks beautiful in the room, and it just goes to show that you don't always have to go fully custom to finish your home and just add those special touches.
I think there are ways to make retail stock pieces feel a little bit more custom. Again, you'll see we added the trim on the dresser in my daughter's nursery. We changed out the hardware, which makes it feel a little bit more elevated and special. So there are ways to do that as well. My husband and I love to entertain in this space. You'll see we had some fun in my dining room, which you'll see throughout the episode. And our living room, it has a bunch of seating for couches and swivel chairs. We want it to be comfortable. We want people to feel comfortable when they walk in our home, but also be a reflection of us as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have, you know, a pretty large family in this area, I would say. And even our immediate family, we're always all together. It sounds crazy, but truly we are.
Our friends and family make fun of us because, especially, we are always together, especially
We're
now that
always
we work
together.
together.
Yeah.
But my dad's popping in after work to see my daughter. You're here all the time. We wanted everyone to feel comfortable in the space.
Yeah, my other sons are always here as well, and so it's been really fun that, you know, we sold our family home when my youngest went to college and moved into the city, and so now this has kind of become the hub for us, and it's been really fun. So
moving along from our primary bedroom to my daughter's nursery, we have this really special piece of artwork displayed at the top of our stairs. It has been in my husband's family for quite a few generations. His great-grandfather lived in the Philippines in the 1930s. He actually worked for General Electric, bringing power to the Philippines at that time, and he befriended this artist, Fernando Amorsolo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it was a gift directly from the artist himself. And we just love the colors of it, and it's such a special family heirloom that I'm really proud to be able to display in our home. Welcome into my daughter Vivi's nursery.
I would say my favorite room in the house.
It was the most special, I think, for us to design, for sure.
Yeah, I kind of asked for, well, I think forced to get creative control, mostly of this room, being my first grandchild, so it was a really special moment for me. But we went back and forth with wallpapers.
I think there's so many directions you can go with the nursery. I found out right away what gender I was having. So we knew we were having a girl, which made this
no way you were going to wait till the end.
No, which made it so much more fun. I think designing a girl nursery was really special for us. And we went back and forth on kind of what direction we wanted to go. Did we want to have a theme? Did we not? You know, you see all these really beautiful blush pink nurseries, and I think we thought we want to do something a little bit different. So you design this.
Again, I mean, I think we've been talking about this whole tour is that this is one of our favorite colors, blue. I'm sure a lot of people have this as a favorite color, but I love incorporating it as kind of the backdrop in this room. It's just a beautiful shade. And I also feel like with this particular wallpaper, it's really not too juvenile at all.
No.
And so this is something that can totally grow with her as she gets older and to be her big girl room. But we just loved the shade of it, and we loved the smaller print because we knew we wanted a bolder print on the windows.
I think we let the wallpaper almost take the back seat in this room to let these drapes sing. Just the boldness of them, the beautiful raspberry color. We went for something a little bit brighter than your traditional blush nursery, and I think it just adds a beautiful pop, and I think just really displays kind of our personalities and how we wanted this room to feel.
Yeah, and I always think like this particular fabric, which is a favorite of mine, you could, if you ever move to a different house, you could put this in a guest room, you could put it in a dining room, you could put it really in an office, but still feels like a really soft girl's room with the crib and obviously
the beautiful glider.
Yeah, a glider. We found these antique prints, I guess I got years ago, and I had them down at our summer home for the longest time. I never hung them. I just never really found the right place for them. And we had already picked the fabric.
We pretty much had already designed the room, and we're just finalizing it with accessories.
We were down rummaging in my storage room at the Cape Cod, and I remember that I had those. We pulled them out, and it was like, oh my God, it was meant to be in this room. They were perfect. So they landed right there on that wall.
And this is also a passed down piece. This is an antique mirror that my mom had in our childhood home. We have two of them actually, but we use one of them here. And we just love the organic wood feeling of it on the wallpaper, and just adds so much charm to the space. It's funny because we have this definitely more modern flush mount up here, but we think the balance and the juxtaposition is really interesting in the space as well.
Yeah, again, not having to take everything so seriously. Like, you know, this is obviously a passed down piece. It definitely feels more formal, but adding the fun light to it keeps this room feeling, I would say, a little more young. Right, exactly.
I think moving along here, another really special piece to us is this framed Hermes scarf that you'll see here. This actually was a scarf that my grandparents gave to my mother on her 16th birthday, and she passed down to me on my 16th birthday. And then my husband surprised me and had it framed when we were living in the Seaport. I think we were just dating at the time, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's found its home in my daughter's nursery, and it's just really special to us as well.
It's something that she will have forever and pass down to her family. I think the soul of a home really comes from things that are important to you. And we have this discussion a lot, I think, in terms of what should be showcased, you know, the rules about what you should showcase on your first floor, but keeping up in the family areas. And I just think those rules should be thrown out the window. If it matters to you, if it's something that's passed down, if it is collected in maybe your travels, that's what you should showcase in your house. And those are the details and the pieces that make your home come to life and show who you are.
I think having pieces that tell a story, like you mentioned, pieces that you've collected over time, I think a home is truly never finished, and you can always be adding things that are important to you, and you want the home to be a reflection of you and your family. We always say you want to walk in and someone be like, oh, this makes so much sense that they live here. It's a reflection of them. So I think having pieces collected over time really just makes a house feel like a home.
Yeah, and I think especially with young families, we always say, you know, start with your bigger pieces first, invest in a few pieces, take your time with the rest. Obviously, young families' budgets sometimes differ greatly, and so we try to guide them in a direction to try to collect some of those pieces that you can reuse in any other house you move to. You can move it around your own house, but you'll have forever and maybe can be passed down as future heirlooms.
Welcome to my entryway. You'll see that we have a really soft neutral stripe leading up the stairs in our runner. I thought because we have so much color in the dining room and in the living room, it gives your eye a little bit of a natural break and just leads up to the second floor really nicely. This bench I found off Cherish. We had a cushion made for it, but I actually made my husband drive me 2.5 hours each way to pick it up. He's a very good husband.
In a snowstorm?
In a snowstorm. She babysat Vivi, and best grandparents ever. And you'll see we have this little sconce here. It's actually from Pookie Lighting, and it is just like an electric or a cordless sconce, because we can't put wiring in this wall because for fire code in the 1930s, this is actually like 2 feet of brick, I believe. So it's just a cordless little light. We have a little remote for it. Pookie Lighting is great for little things like this, and we love the fun little shade.
And this adorable little painting is from Cherish. Here's another example of buying art that you really like. It's so much, there's so much out there now. You can find it on Etsy, you can find it on Cherish, you know, local galleries obviously. But this is probably not the right thing to say or the art correct thing to say, but sometimes I like the frames as much as the art, and I will be drawn to a frame. Sometimes
We love interesting frames.
Yeah, before I even like the art, but this came framed, it was perfect, and I just love a chunky.
We love how it makes the art almost look diminutive because the frame is so chunky here.
So a lot of people ask us how we came up with our name, Hunter Hill Interiors, and it's kind of a funny story. Well, actually,
Sentimental as well.
yeah, sentimental, but Colette's married name is Archambault, mine's Cacciatore, so Cacciatore Archambault Interiors sounded...
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. So when we were starting our business, we went back and forth a lot on our name, and it was important to us, like how we wanted to feel represented in our brand. And so, funny story, Cacciatore actually means hunter in Italian. So we spent so much time when Colette was younger, really until she went to college in the horse world. She rode competitively, and really horse farms and equestrian facilities. We have so many wonderful memories.
I think that's why we are so close as well. We spent so much time together traveling the country when I was competing, and I think that's also why we ended up starting our business together, because we always knew we wanted to do something together. And in the equestrian world, if you're familiar, there's a division called the Hunters, and it kind of just represents our love for the sport, and so we loved that it tied back to that as well.
And it played on, of course, our last name, and the Hunter Hill just felt familiar to us, almost like a farm, and so it just was perfect when we came upon it, and that's really
after
where the
we
name came
went back
from.
and forth so many times, all of a sudden we're like, okay, that's it. Like, we don't need to ideate anymore. It's perfect.
Yeah, it was done. Home means to me a place of safety and feeling like you can always go there and find love, find compassion, and just always know you belong there. And I think the most important thing that you can do as a mother, as a parent, is to create a home where your children feel loved and always welcome no matter what.
I think home means to me having somewhere to come home to at the end of the day, where the stresses of the day can be behind you, where you can just relax and spend time with the ones you love, and it's a place of safety, like my mom mentioned as well. Homeworthy, thank you so much for joining us in Wellesley, Massachusetts.
We had the best day with you, and we hope you enjoyed the tour.
See you later.
Bye.
Good morning, Homeworthy. I'm floral designer Lewis Miller. We are here in the New York City flower market, and today we're going shopping at some of my very favorite floral vendors. We're going to see the most beautiful blooms. It's the best time of year for flowers, and then we're going to go back to my office. We're going to make some centerpieces celebrating our very favorite people of all, our mothers. So join me today. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let's go shopping.
Welcome to a special edition of Homeworthy. In celebration of Mother's Day, we're unlocking the doors to 2 generations of design. This week, we're honoring the unique bond between mothers and daughters by stepping into each of their homes as they jointly share their stories, style, and the spaces that bring them closer.
We sold our family home when my youngest went to college and moved into the city. And so now this has kind of become the hub for us, and it's been really fun.
From timeless heirlooms to modern takes on family traditions, we'll also share easy ideas for adding a floral flourish to your own Mother's Day celebration. So get cozy and enjoy our Mother's Day series, because nothing says home like a mother's touch and a daughter's twist.
Happy Mother's Day. Bye.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
So I'm looking for flowers to celebrate mom, and what actually makes a Mother's Day flower, or what flowers symbolize mother. I think that they tend to be a little bit more old-fashioned flowers, not that mothers are old-fashioned, but things that are a little bit more romantic. when we go back to my studio, I'm actually working off a piece of linen, a tablecloth that I'm going to design the whole thing around. And the flowers in this tablecloth are very open and very expressive. I just found this hellebores, which is one of my favorite blossoms, but I have never seen this pale yellow one, and there's one bunch, so I'm going to snag it. But I'm also looking at these butterfly ranunculus, and they do the same thing. They have a big sort of open face, which will look nice with the whole display. But then I'm going to need something to bulk it up. So let's see what we can find. Here are more standard ranunculus, and these colors are so exquisite. They have the reds and the yellow, the reds and the whites, and it's a big, open, old-fashioned flower. So I'm going to grab a couple of these bunches. I want to bring in some yellow here. So I've seen the first of the lilac come in. This is local lilac. This is really exciting. Lilac is fragrant, and mothers love lilac. My mother loves lilac. It smells good. It's an old-fashioned flower. I know I keep using that word, but it's sort of just so reminiscent of childhood and summer days. So let's go grab some lilac. Smells incredible. And then my mother's favorite flower is sweet pea. She grew a lot of it growing up, and we always had it in the house, so it smells divine, and I saw some beautiful sweet pea on the vine. Let's grab some of that. Okay, here we have sweet pea, and this is long sweet pea. It's still on the vine, which makes it a lot of fun to work with. This pale pink color, it smells great, so I'm gonna throw that in the mix. Okay, so let's walk down the street. There's a couple more vendors I want to stop by. Okay, I want to go over here, and this guy, my friend Prasad, he deals mostly in California grown and local branches, so it's a much more wild, it's much more uncultivated per se. So let's take a look and see what he has. Look at these tulips, they're still on the bulb. How beautiful are these? Like you see the long, they literally bring them out of the, take them out of the ground and bundle them up while they're still on the bulb. I don't need tulips, but it sure would be fun to use these. Green viburnum, this is like lilac. Again, it's kind of a shrub that grows in the countryside. I grew up with it as a child. It's amazing, bright, fresh green. Let's grab some of this. And then this is one of my favorite parts of the flower market, just the wall of blooming branches. So you have the cherry that's going to open up magnificent, pink cherry, white cherry, the crabapple is starting to come in. We're still getting quince. This is our winter blooming branch, so we have this from January until about mid-May. And then olive branches and just all kinds of amazing textures and foliages. The first thing that draws me to a flower is honestly just how sort of robust it is. I really try to use flowers that are in season. They look so much better. It's sort of like buying produce. So buying things out of season, it's not quite as nice. So if the tulips are looking magnificent like they are right now, or the viburnum's great, this is how I like to shop and really shop within the season. A lot of greenhouses around the globe are growing things all year round, and depending on the season, some have better product than others, but at the end of the day, if you can get it in its local growing season, which we are now approaching May, and we're starting to get stuff that's coming directly from the ground with the real sky underneath it, not a greenhouse grown product, and it just makes it so much nicer. Good, how are you? Let me just write the name of the...
Sure, you can write it right there. Write an invoice.
3 viburnum, $2, $6.
Smart guy. My favorite. This is my favorite.
Oh, Prasad. Doubled my age since I met you. These are pretty. Where are these from right now?
All those were from upstate. With the bob?
Yeah, yeah. Are these?
Those you see over there?
Oregon.
Those are upstate.
I mean, I think I need to get some of these. These are a little further open than I would normally buy, but for our demonstration, they just literally look like we pulled them from the garden, which we kind of did. So let me grab a few of these bunches. Okay, Prasad, I'm taking 2 of these too. How do we package them so they don't... Ooh. So pretty. Yeah. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, we're coming up to Abra. I love these guys. We buy a lot from them. They have amazing stuff, and they recently just expanded in this brand new space. So let's see what they have today. We already got sweet pea, but here's shorter stem sweet pea. Divine, amazing. Look at these beautiful little specimen tulips. How cute are they? They're the size of a thumbnail. So special. These are kind of cheery. I like their little bright faces. Let's grab some of these little single petal daffodils. This reminds me of my mother. She grew this in the summer. She still does, and hers looks exactly like this. On the plant, it's about this tall, and she would just have drifts of this incredible blue delphinium. So this is a favorite summer flower for weddings and parties that I use a lot. I don't need any today. I just wanted to show you how magnificent it is, and it's one of those few flowers that are a true blue. Do you have any open peonies? Do you have any like peonies that are just kind of blasted open?
White peonies, no.
No.
Only have a little right here.
This is the wrong color. Okay, it's still too early for them. This is a perfect example of things out of season. So by the time Mother's Day rolls around, peonies will be in season, but it's still about 2 weeks too early. So they're not as amazing as they will be, so I'm going to refrain from buying them right now. Let's go next door and check out one more spot and see what they have to offer. Okay, this is what I need. My tablecloth has roses printed on it, so I'm going to grab some big, bright, old-fashioned garden roses. These are perfect, and then I think we're done. This is Yves Piaget. It's one of the most fragrant old-fashioned garden roses. It'll open up quite large, this bright, beautiful magenta color. And then I love these yellow ones here as well. Everything I said about peonies, I just retract because I found these gorgeous yellow peonies. So these are amazing. They're gonna look so good. So I'm going to put some of these roses back and use some of the peonies instead. Let's go back to my office and put these together and see what we can create. Okay, I'm hopping on my bike. I will meet you back at the studio and we'll make our arrangements. Okay, the flowers have been delivered. Let's see what we bought. Get them in water. I will give you some conditioning tips, and then we will make our arrangements. So first thing we have here are these amazing tulips. Ugh, so pretty. They still have their bulbs on, so I'm gonna just leave them like that and just drop them in a bucket of water. Next up, we have aha, okay, we've got our roses and our little, oh, these are fragrant too, these beautiful little jonquils, daffodils. So let me give you a few tips about cleaning roses. Come back to the peonies. So these garden roses are coming from California. It's a David Austin rose, which is a grower in England, a hybridizer that does these beautiful old-fashioned roses, and they have a very high petal count. They're long-lasting, and they're a lot more sort of romantic and old world than the more standard American rose that we all know. But they're very thorny. They have a lot of leaves, so I'm going to take off most of the leaves, and I'm using a knife and just very carefully pick away at the thorns. Set them aside, and it takes a little skill not to jab yourself. Another thing you can do is just put the stem on the surface and just kind of quickly do a little knife action that way. So generally when it comes to roses, I just like to leave the top few leaves. It really depends on the rose. Some leaves are very leathery and they can be covered with pesticides and fertilizer residue, and they're not pretty, so I tend to take them off completely. These are pretty, they frame out the blossom. They're not a huge horsey leaf, they're a little bit more delicate, so I will tend to leave those on. But you always want to have, regardless of the flower, you really never want any leaves to go below the water line once you put them in your vase. This variety of rose, this is also David Austin rose. I think this one is called Beatrice. Yeah, Beatrice. It has very few thorns, so I'm just picking off the leaves, and the leaves are nice and clean. I'm leaving a few up at the top. Literally, there's not a single thorn on any of these. So some will be very prolific and thorny, which you have to be careful. Some will have nothing, which makes the cleaning process so much faster. So then as I'm cleaning these, though, I notice a little bit of a brown leaf here. I want to remove that because that's called botrytis. It's actually a disease and it will spread. So I just get my fingers in there and make sure that's gone. And that remedies that issue. So once they're all clean, now the most important part is to get them in water, because keeping flowers alive, it's always about water. So I like to just take my stems, line them up at the bottom, and don't do too many at a time, but what you want to do is you want to do a very sharp, fast cut at a 45-degree angle and drop them in the water. You have about 3 seconds to get them into the water, because roses, once you cut the stem, it takes a big gulp of air, and that air bubble will make its way up to the top, and in a few days it will be dead. So quick cut, nice sharp. You want to have nice sharp cutters, very important. Don't use dull scissors. If you're comfortable using a knife, you can also just do a quick cut at a 45-degree angle like that. It can wreak havoc on your thumbs if you don't know what you're doing. So if you're a novice, I really suggest having a pair of cutters, secateurs like this, that are solely for floral arranging. Don't use the ones you clip the garden hedges with, because they're much heavier, they're dull, and they will just chew up the stem. So have a special pair just designated for cleaning your flowers. So I'm just sharing this bucket with the tulips. Generally, I would only put like flowers with like flowers in their buckets. I wouldn't mix them up like this. But we're going to be using these in a few minutes, so it's okay. It's just about getting them rehydrated. Plus, these flowers, when we bought them in the market, they were already in buckets of water, so they're not completely dehydrated. Next, I want to move on to these beauties here. Now, the trick about daffodils or jonquils are, and again, these were in buckets of water when I bought them, so this doesn't apply to today. But in general, daffodils, narcissus, any of these types of flowers, they tend to release a toxin, and it can kill other flowers. So it's very important, if you're cutting these from the garden, you want to give them, again, a sharp cut and put them in a container of water all by themselves and let them just drink for like 10, 12 hours. And all those toxins will sort of release, change the water. Then you're good to mix them with other flowers. So I'm going to get those in the water like that and move on to my peonies. So these beauties are sort of more unusual, this yellow color. And this is a Japanese tree peony. And they have beautiful long stems, but you can tell it's a tree peony because the foliage is a little bit more serrated, it's a little finer. That's just generally tends to be a characteristic of a tree peony. And then they open up, and there's just a certain exoticness about them that feels a little bit more fantasy than your standard park peony. So I have these now, they're pretty clean, but what I want to do is cut these little nubs off. So each one of these little nodules is where there was a leaf that the growers removed, the farm removed, but I like to cut them off nice and clean so that the stem is very smooth. And the reason why I do that is because if I put these into a vase and I don't do this and I decide I want to take this out and reposition it, this little nub will act like a hand and it's just going to pull everything else out with it. So by having a nice smooth stem, it just gets it so much easier to insert or pull it out if you need to. So I'll just do that to all of these. Again, I'm leaving the top leaves on because they're really quite pretty, and as they open up, they'll unfurl like the flower does. And you can see how big these will get. As it hydrates, it will relax. Okay, package number 3. Let's see what we have. This is our viburnum. Okay, so let's talk about viburnum. And this is going to apply to lilac, which, let's see if it's in here. Ah, there it is. So both viburnum and lilac, they tend to be like farm flowers. They're amazing this time of year. They really remind me of the countryside. You just see that quintessential Americana farmhouse, and they always have a big lilac bush off the porch or a viburnum bush behind the barn, and they're so beautiful, but they require a little bit of care. So a lot of times people will get these at the farmer's market, or they will cut them in their yard if you're lucky enough to have one, and they will complain that in a couple of hours that they've completely crashed, they've wilted. And the reason being is because these are woody stems. They're heavy drinkers, and there's a few techniques you need to follow to make sure that they stay alive. So number 1 is, with lilac, you really need to take off the vast majority of the foliage, because this foliage is competing with the flower for water. So the water is going to go up into the foliage, and then a lot of times the blossom itself won't have much left. Now the next important thing is that you need to, these are very woody stems, you really need to chew these things up, masticate them, take your cutters and just really shred them. You can also take a hammer and mash them. You can also take your hands and just really, if you're feeling frustrated, just take it out on these stems. You cannot abuse them enough, and doing this will help the stem absorb more water. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's worth the effort, and you'll have a flower that lasts much, much longer. Now, even on the lilacs, I want to take most of the leaves off, but I do like to leave a few, but it's the vast majority I want to remove. It's nice to keep a few at the top. Also, I don't tend to love lilac foliage. I think it looks a little bit weedy, and it's kind of a weird chalky color, so it's just a personal preference. But these shoots, I definitely tend to remove. And do all of that, and again, just split the stems and get it in water to drink. These flowers are still tight too. They're gonna open up and be a lot more showy in a couple of days. If you're buying lilacs at the farm, don't go for the most open that you see, because obviously if it's a little tighter, it'll last longer. You know, it all depends. If you're having a dinner party that night, then you need them to be as showy as possible, so go for it, but just don't expect it to last, you know, for an additional 3 or 4 days. If this is something you want to have in the house for a while, go for the tightest buds you can, and ideally you'll pick a bundle that has a combination of both, so you get that instant gratification, and then you have a little bit more longevity. So you can see I'm kind of cleaning these up. I'm taking any old dead wood. This is definitely characteristic of a farm grown or a local grown lilac, because the ones that come from Holland are extremely, you know, the stem is perfectly straight and it has no kinks or dead wood in it, but this has come right off of the shrub, so this is the real McCoy. So a piece like this has a lot of stuff going on, so I'm going to cut this into smaller chunks, take these little bits off, strip the leaves down. And then it's funny, I'm kind of left with that. The hardest part about making a flower arrangement is picking out your flowers and spending the proper time getting them all hydrated and cleaned. Now, normally, if these were not in water, had not been in water when I bought them, I wouldn't even be doing anything with them for like at least 4 or 5 hours, because I want them to have a big, long drink of water. Now this is like, you know, these viburnum are amazing, and you see them all bundled up in the market like that, and it looks so great. And then you get them here and like, okay, what do I do with them? And that's where I think people that just go grab things off the shelf that aren't necessarily florists get frustrated because they don't know what to do with it afterwards. So I have to sort through this. There's a lot going on here. There's a little bit of decay and some rotten leaves. There's a lot of broken stuff. So it's going to take a while to make all of this usable. So it's a one stem at a time. Again, so I take a stem like this. First thing I do is remove anything broken. This is a lot of delicate handwork, and it involves just taking your fingernails and removing a lot of these leaves, because again, these leaves are going to take the water, and I need the water to go up to the blossom so it really develops. I still leave a few at the top. So there's really no fast way of doing this. It's one stem at a time. And then just line them up, and I will cut and mash the stems the same way I did the lilac. I love Mother's Day, obviously, because I love my mom, and it's also Tug, my second dog's birthday, so it's easy to remember. We've traditionally at LMD, we've done a lot with Mother's Day. We've done flower flashes with Every Mother Counts, which is an amazing organization that was founded by Christy Turlington, and it is to ensure that women have safe pregnancies all around the world. So that's a great cause. We've also worked with Tiffany and Company. We've flower flashed the Empire State Building, that they replicated a model inside their store, and then an outdoor flower flash. So having some of those fun collaborations. It's just a great time for flowers. It's a great time to celebrate mom. And so today, I just want to show you how to work with flowers so that you could maybe do a great Mother's Day breakfast or lunch for your own mom and really surprise her in a special way. Every mother loves flowers, I think. I know my mother does, so it's a good excuse to get out there, go to the farmer's market, go to the flower market, go somewhere and get some blooms and make something special for her. Okay, so we're down to the last here. We have this really beautiful yellow helleborus, which honestly, I've never seen it at a nursery. I've never seen it in the market. I didn't even know it came yellow. So there was one bunch and I snapped it. It's very pretty. Well, in this industry, things are always being developed, hybridized. So there's always new varieties coming out. Like, what's available on the market today is completely different than 5 years ago. And helleborus is a good example of this. Like 5 or 6 years ago, we were only able to get it maybe in the winter. It was very expensive. It was kind of iffy whether it would hold or not. Sometimes it crashed very quickly. Now it's almost available year round, and the breadth of colors and varieties is amazing. So it's a perfect example of how a flower has become fashionable, and really the growers have just really promoted it a lot, and it's just much more mainstream in the market now. Okay, we have these butterfly ranunculus. Again, I'm gonna say this, just always take off any broken or damaged leaves. That's a standard rule of thumb. If it's broken, if it's damaged or diseased. And then anything that's too low that's gonna get in the water line, I always leave the top ones on. This is called butterfly ranuncula, I guess because it sort of flutters like a butterfly, so it gives flowers flower arrangements a nice movement and lightness. And then we have, lastly, the favorite sweet pea. So these are very delicate. Let me get these in water again. These sweet peas are very delicate because the stems are kind of brittle, so you need to be careful. And I really want to not sacrifice any of the pea shoots, so I'm not gonna take anything off at this point. I'm just one stem at a time, gently just drop them in to the bucket of water, and I'll clean them a little bit more as I'm making the arrangements. Okay, so our flowers are clean. We'll let them drink for a little while. Let's go back and pick out a vessel and a fabric. I want to sort of mock up what I would do for a breakfast table or a brunch table for a Mother's Day Sunday morning celebration. So let's go take a look and see what we can find. This is Tug. He loves to shop as much as I do, even if it's shopping our own stuff. Let's go see what we can find. Okay, I pulled some fabrics from a bin, and I think what I want to use is this really pretty rose fabric. It's got butterflies, it's got caterpillars, it's bright, it's cheerful, yet it's just a nice, humble linen. It's not fancy or shiny, so I think this will be terrific. And then we need to find some vessels, so let's go grab those. Okay, you go down there. This is where we keep all of our stuff. We're running out of room, but we've got a lot of fun things, different sizes of containers depending on the project. I think for this, I want to pull from my Special Astier collection. This is a French glazed terracotta ceramic company, and they do these beautiful pieces. I get a lot of these from my friend at John Darien down in the East Village. So I have several here that have butterflies and flowers on them. This picture's great. So good for Mother's Day. Here's a little one, I'll take that as well. This is a nice stately container. So I think a nice trio of the three of these will look great on that fabric with the flowers we chose. So let's take this back and put it all together and see what we can come up with. Come on, Tuggy, let's go. I'm really never afraid of color, so this has a certain joy and exuberance to it that I think is a lot of fun. The butterflies are amazing, and I feel like these containers in a grouping, it's a little busy, but why not? This is, it's supposed to be joyful, exuberant, so just have fun with it. I think people get so scared that they're gonna do something that's not perfect. And you know, the whole idea about flowers is they are a short-term relationship. They're gonna be gone in a few days. So experiment, have fun, but you know, general rule of thumb, like I tend to like, you know, take inspiration from the fabrics I'm using. If you're doing flowers for your apartment or your home, you know, pull the colors from the fabrics, from the curtains, from the art. This is going to be very kind of mixed arrangement. Like I get a lot of questions when I teach my flower classes. People want to know like how to live with flowers in their home, and I think it's very important that we all live with flowers in our home and not be afraid of it. But generally, like week to week, day to day flowers that are not special celebrations, that's not setting a special table, keep it simple. Like don't do a bunch of mixed arrangements. Have beautiful containers, do one type of flower per container. My rule of thumb is if you have pottery or beautiful art glass pieces in your house that look great by themselves on a coffee table with a stack of books, then if you throw in, you know, 20 stems of blue hyacinths, you know, presto, you've got an amazing arrangement without any thought, and you know it's gonna look good. This will be a little bit more sort of, you know, mixed and exuberant. So I'll talk through the philosophy on how I'm doing this, and we'll, you know, fingers crossed it'll look great. So let's give it a shot. I have a few leftovers from yesterday's project, so maybe we'll incorporate these in as well. I like this Gloriosa lily. I think that would be great with this. So what I want to do now is make 3 tiers of arrangements because I have 3 vessels. And they cannot all be the same or it will kind of be a big mess. So I think this is gonna be the more exuberant. This will be maybe just roses and peonies, a little more compact, and this will be the most compact of all. So let's get started with the big one. So for this, I think we should do the majority of it as lilac and viburnum. And then we can add some tulips and the gloriosa. So I tend to just do this quickly, a little bit when I'm starting. Get handfuls. Again, I'm giving this a fresh cut and slicing the stems and just getting started. I'm gonna have different levels. So when I grew up, my mom, as I mentioned in the market, she grew a lot of sweet pea, and I grew up in Central California, and there was so much growing in the garden. My family were, my grandfather and my mother especially, they were avid gardeners. We had a lot of gorgeous roses and wisteria and sweet pea, and it was all there. So I spent a lot of time, and I was always bringing flowers in the house. So that was sort of my foray, my introduction into the world of flowers and how flowers could really change the energy of a room. So I had a lot of fun. I didn't really know at the time you could make a living doing it, but here we are, 30 years later. And never really had any formal training, which some may say is obvious, because I didn't really necessarily follow the rules. I just know that I was really drawn to very kind of sumptuous, full arrangements, and I loved Dutch still life paintings. I thought, they were just so exquisite and fanciful and otherworldly and moody at the same time. So that was really a lot of my inspiration growing up and starting this whole journey with flowers. As I'm adding these stems of viburnum, I'm really trying to sink some lower as well. And this doesn't feel natural a lot of times to really bury them in deep, but it just helps to create a fullness. And also just make sure nothing gets too intertwined, too tangled. Every time I put in a stem, I'm giving it a fresh cut. And then I just always need to kind of like spin the vessel around, jostle things, look at it from a few feet away so I can see what's going on. Lower pieces I sink in around the base to finish off the edges. Occasionally you'll see a leaf or something that's broken. You don't want anything to feel tangled. You want to leave it enough space that everything can continue to open up. And I still have quite a bit more, so I'll keep adding, and then I'll start building up the center and going a little bit taller. And these viburnum will continue to develop and open up. And by putting the pieces in lower, it also acts as a little bit of a support, so everything doesn't just splay out to the sides. I'm almost done with my lilac, so I'll save those last few pieces for the end. So when I'm choosing my flowers, I often get asked in my flower classes, how do I choose my colors? For the most part, I tend to keep things a little bit more monochromatic. I think today might be the exception because I'm also basing my flowers off of this linen that we looked at, this brightly colored fabric. So I'm playing off of it. But I think it's always safest and, for the most part, the most pleasing to the eye to just keep your colors to one side of the color spectrum. Try not to embrace the rainbow in one arrangement. It can look a little jarring, and sometimes it just comes across as a little cheap. Just because you do things monochromatic, though, does not mean they have to be boring. Because if we look at these flowers, like even these orange tulips, there's yellows and there's deep orange and there's green inside each petal. So you could pull from that. Same thing with the peonies. If you look in here, it gets a little bit more kind of tangerine to rosy color, so you can merge those colors together. This hellebores again, same thing. While it's pale yellow, it has a little bit of plum, so you could pull in some plum or deep pinks with that. And that just kind of makes all the flowers and the colors relate to each other and speak to each other. Okay, I'm almost done with my viburnum. And I'm going to add the tulips and some of the gloriosa. I think maybe before I do that, I want to do the next picture of the roses first, because I sort of like the simplicity of this and I need to see how they're all going to work together. All right, let's fill this butterfly pitcher full of roses and peonies. Just want to show you how great these look on this fabric. Really is mirroring what's happening there. Pull those aside and get these beauties in here. So one of my favorite techniques is called the chop and plop. It's, I should probably patent that term. It's very official. You have to go to school for years to know how to do it properly. But I'm self-taught. So I take these in my hands like this and just get them all about the right level. Again, always just checking. I missed a little diseased petal there. And this really works best if you have an abundance of flowers. Okay, kind of a classic dome of flowers, and I'm going to do one big sharp cut and just drop them in. Okay, so now I've got this arrangement started. So now I can take my peonies and maneuver them in there and just get in there and don't be afraid to get these at different levels. I'm going to keep this a little bit more compact, just spinning things around. You can see how quickly now we have a very full arrangement happening. The leaves of the peonies look great. And then if I need to just, move a stem here and there, no big deal. Fastest flower arrangement ever. Get in there, give it a tickle, let it do its thing. I'll tuck in this guy that broke. He can live in here tighter. But let me get a few of these butterfly ranunculus in here as well. Yeah, so we can now just stab some of these in. So the problem with showing you this is that you'll never come to my flower classes again because it's really very easy. But please do come because they are for charity. So we raise a lot of money for good causes and it's a lot of fun. And they sell out quickly, so this just gives us a little bit of movement, keeps it from being too domey and tight. And then you can just get in there and adjust. A few more. Okay, so at this point, I think I'm done with it, but until I get it all together, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So we've got that and that. Now we're gonna move to our third one. Oh, hold on. One rose. No rose left behind. Okay, so lastly we have this little creamer here. It's a little pitcher with a couple of butterflies on it. And I think I want this to be just a nice little collection of these beautiful daffodils. And again, fastest flower arrangement ever. Just arranging in my hands. Quick cut. And voila. Okay, so now, it's a little bit boring, believe it or not. Let's add some other stuff to it. And at this point, I think I want to move it over to the tablecloth and see what we're looking like. Okay, so I've got these amazing tulips. Honestly, if I were actually doing a display, I would probably just leave some of them bundled up like this because I think it's so pretty. But let's gently take them apart. So this is the stage where, you know, we're 70% done, but once it's in place, you want to do the finishing touches. Like when we're doing flowers for weddings, we make the arrangements about 60–70% here in the studio. Then we get it on the table and we add the drape and the movement, because a lot of that stuff doesn't travel well, and it's also nice just to modify it so it really fits in with the environment. So that's what I'm doing here. I've got these tulips. I can now start to bring them in and kind of break the shape a little bit. I like the way this orange looks with the yellows and the hot pinks. They have a lot of movement and personality. Tulips are the quintessential shapeshifter flowers, so in a couple of days or even in a day, they will continue to grow and flop, which makes the arrangement very different from day to day, which is really nice. At this point too, doing this on place, don't be afraid to let things drape and droop a little bit. It's nice to have that cascading, making sure my flowers get into the water. Okay, so now we're just getting a little bit more movement, keeping it a little less domey. I've got a few more tulips I can add. I also want to get in my sweet pea. So this can tumble out. This sort of display is also really good if you're doing a brunch and you sort of have a buffet table and you're going to set up plates of cakes and foods and pastries, because it is high like this and has different levels. As a kid, we had these sweet peas in such abundance that we took it for granted. And then when you're actually going to buy them, it's quite a shock. But I would say worth every penny. I like how this pale pink is picking up the pink in that cloth. And then every once in a while, it's important to just kind of step back and take a look at what you're doing. Don't be afraid to reposition things. The best compliment I can get when somebody comes up to me and says, "I love your arrangements, I just want to paint them." So that is great honor indeed. Yeah, how do you know when you're done? Well, I don't like waste, so I try to use up as many flowers as possible, but sometimes you just need to learn to step away. I've been talking about this hellebore so much that I have to get it in, so it would be criminal not to use it. So let me get some of that in here. There we go. And just to tie in these little guys, let me just put a few in the arrangement. So it's really important when you're doing this that your water level is all the way to the top, because these stems are not long, so they're just touching the water level. And so then if you're doing this for an event or a party at home, and if you want these flowers to last afterwards, you really probably should take these little babies out and put them into something shorter, but it's nice just to have that little bit of accent to tie it in. And also I can do the same thing. I can just put a few of these hellebores in here just to disrupt it a little bit. Okay, I think we're done. The hardest part is knowing when to stop, and definitely we're going for a maximalist look here. So this is not a less is more experience, but thank you for joining me this morning. Be fearless, like embrace color, have fun, do something for your mom, experiment, and enjoy flowers because they are really one of the best creations ever. So I think it's important to have them in your life, and happy Mother's Day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.